And good evening, everyone, and welcome to Podium Esports coverage of the fourth race for Season 6 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries tonight. It's the Operation Christmas Child 300K live from iRacing's virtual and legacy version of Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm Blake McCandless, the voice of Monday Night Racing, alongside my broadcast partners tonight, Kenneth Bueno and Jacob Hitz, as well as Ryan Bauer down in the virtual production trailer. And Jacob and Kenneth, I know I was absent again last week, apologize for that, but we're back and we're here at a version of Texas, Kenneth, that these drivers, there's a reason they wanted to bring it back after it was a part of a late edition of the schedule last year. These drivers just love this racetrack and they wanted to do it again.
It's such a huge challenge when you bring this car, the XFINITY car, to a track like Legacy, Texas, because it rips apart the tires. It forces these drivers to use their hands a little more, be physically active behind the wheel, and it makes for a great strategy race as well. Last season, when it made its debut in Monday Night Racing history, it provided for a stunning strategy race, a lot of fun, and a lot of intricate details that we really had to pay attention to. Tonight, going to be no different, but really what I fixture most about this race, Blake, is the fact that this is going to be the first and only time the field has experience with the XFINITY car in M&R competition this season before the championship finale at Homestead of Miami Speedway in 2023. So if you want to take notes, if there's any chance to take notes about this car at an intermediate, it has to be tonight.
Well, and I think with that, Kenneth, you talk about the similarity in combos and what these drivers will look for in racing in a championship, Jacob. I think the one thing that's really struck me in these first couple of races is the newcomers that have come in. Corey Heim, Carson Hocevar, drivers like that who have really started to make an impact early on already here in Season 6.
Well, and we already expected what Corey Heim was going to do after his success winning a couple of races coming in late in the going in Season 5. Of course, he's out for tonight's race, but you're right, Carson Hocevar, even a lap down. He raced his tail off last week at Daytona on the road course. Chase Cabry, he won in just his second start. There have been a lot of other newcomers this year that have been really fast out of the gate and have really been impressive. We'll see how they adapt to this track and this combination here today. Obviously, most everybody has experience with this since we ran it a season ago. Perhaps that'll help the veterans of this series, like a David Schildhouse, a Ryan Vargas, somebody along those lines. But we'll see how everything plans out, and like Kenneth talked about with strategy, this race, almost a carbon copy of what we saw a season ago in the playoffs. Just 5 laps longer, and they have an extra set of tires on pit road. That's going to be the key difference between this race tonight and the race we saw a season ago.
And so little tweaks and adjustments, but nevertheless, I think these drivers all agree this is something that is going to be fun for them to enjoy tonight. We talk about newcomers. Well, we have 2 drivers that they've been around here in Monday Night Racing for a while, and because of that, they've come to blows every now and then. We'll take a look at our feature tonight with Raja Caruth and Anthony Alfredo.
Here's a look at the contact between Anthony Alfredo and Raja Caruth. They just got into each other.
Honestly, I think the biggest thing is Raj and I are probably 2 of the most competitive drivers in the series, so we're always at the front, and that's usually where things go wrong.
Well, it's not just Anthony, it's like Garrett and, yeah, exactly. So I guess the run-ins with Anthony,
He raced his way in. Doesn't seem like Anthony Alfredo was too happy about it, though, Kenneth.
Alfredo made the charge. He tried.
Are you kidding me, dude? I think I got wrecked out of the lead, but probably 3 times at least last season, and we just race each other hard, and it usually doesn't end well for me.
it's nothing by design. I'm not a dirty driver. I don't intend to go out and cause harm. I intend to make incitement and race hard for the win. And Anthony's like one of the faster guys in the league, so naturally when I'm up front, he's gonna be there.
But I think it's fun to be up front in contention, but hopefully we can just have a clean battle to the end at some point this year.
So things happen, as Kevin Harvick says. Things happen.
It's always interesting how these relationships work when you're driving against somebody, and we know these drivers in M&R, they're so competitive, Kenneth. And the one thing I think that sticks out between Anthony and Raja are these are two drivers that consistently find themselves at the front of the field. And if you even think about the championship races we've had, Raja Caruth won that championship race in Season 4, although he wasn't a part of the playoffs. You think of Anthony Alfredo, a part of that championship 4 last year, and with that finish with Presley Soros. So these are two guys that they may not get along, but they're going to be racing each other for wins and championships in Monday Night Racing.
And that's something that's only going to fuel the rivalry for the most part. Every time they encounter each other on the track, there's going to be some sort of connection between these two, whether they like it or not, and whether they want to have it happen again or not. Again, just the fierceness of the competition. These two drivers are so good at what they do, and they've been in M&R for so long already that you're bound to have that happen between these two. So hopefully there's not more animosity that ends up creating any chaos, but for the most part, these two guys unbelievably talented, and you're bound to have the rivalries at some point.
Oh, absolutely, Kenneth. And Jacob, I think the one thing, looking at how rivalries just evolve and transform over time, these are two drivers that have really gotten to know each other here on the iRacing service. But in real life, Raja's one of those up-and-comers. We know Alfredo's been a part of the Cup Series, has been a part of the XFINITY Series for the last number of years. We know Raja will be there soon. Do you think this is something that, driving against each other in iRacing, how much does that carry over, and does a rivalry even carry over to real life?
I don't know if we've really had a good demonstration of that so far. This may be the first one if it comes to light in the real world. And look, these two really fought hard in Season 4. Kind of boiled over at times in that season. Season 5 came around. They raced each other hard, there's no doubt about it. But Raja Caruth, look, he missed half the races last season. He was not there as a competitor for a lot of it, and I think that was a little bit of weight off of Anthony Alfredo's back, the fact that he didn't have to worry about Raja being out on the racetrack and having to race him all that hard. I'm not even sure if that rivalry is as strong as it was during Season 4. It may not be, just because they really haven't had a lot of time to race against each other since Season 4 came to a close. So we'll have to see how this pans out this season, but it almost feels like a rivalry that has cooled off a little bit. I'm not saying this thing can't blow up again in a couple weeks. We go to Talladega to make the playoff field. Those two could go at it. You never know, and that's part of why we're here and why we race every week. Kind of see what happens. If anybody's mad at somebody, we'll find out by the day's end.
Well, and I will tell you, drivers, they don't often forget. That's one thing that they don't seem to do very well, is forget anything that's happened between them and a fellow competitor. But looking forward to tonight, guys. I know we've been able to do this a number of times. It's been fun this year with the picks that we've had. Let's take a look at our picks tonight. Of course, Eric Eastep not able to be with us tonight, but we're going to keep him a part of the goings-on all season long. He went with Will Rogers. Kenneth, I'll throw it to you first with your pick in Adam Cabot.
I've got Glenn Gardner, New Jersey's Adam Cabot, and I've got him for a reason tonight. Of course, last season, when this combo made its debut, Cabot was second to Corey Heim in the 51. Take Corey Heim out of the equation for tonight's race, and you've got a stage set for Adam Cabot to potentially dominate this race and be able to cleanly move through strategy. Also, in the last 3 M&R races run with the Xfinity car at an intermediate track, Cabot has an average finish of 5th, so watch out for that 17 tonight.
Jacob, I see a new number. I love the 26 font in here, but you're going with Ryan Vargas.
Yeah, going with Ryan Vargas. And I didn't think about it last week when we were at Daytona, at the Daytona Road Course, because I thought, Corey Heim's showing up to Texas. That's an easy pick. Then we found out that he wasn't racing tonight, and I went, I'll pick Adam Cabot. Wait, I picked him last week. So at the peril of being out in front in the points between the 4 of us, I'm going with Ryan Vargas. He's been consistently fast at these mile-and-a-halfs in these Xfinity cars. He has the real-world Xfinity Car Series experience that not a lot of these guys in the field have as much as Ryan Vargas. And, I think it's time for him to punch his ticket into the playoffs. He gets the job done. He goes to victory lane tonight. He's going to the playoffs. He's going to victory lane, Ryan Vargas.
All right, and I'm going to go with Raja Caruth. I think mostly because when you think about this type of car that he's been running so much, he's been a part of the iRacing service for a long time. He's been running this car in the eNASCAR International Series that's been running. So he's starting to get comfortable with this car. We've seen him run it in real life as well. I just think there's something about running a mile and a half, the Xfinity car, that just plays to Raja's strength. So I think he gets his first win here in Season 6. He locks into the playoffs tonight. I'm going to go with Raja Caruth tonight. And, of course, Eric Estep. Whether on the other side, you have 3 Xfinity drivers, I guess, on the board, and then you have Adam Cabot right there with Kenneth Bueno. So a lot of different drivers represented here tonight as we are going to take a moment here to pause and reflect with the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land and of the free and the home of God?
It's great playing right there. And just on the other side of this break, we will get ready for tonight's running here at the Texas Motor Speedway of the Operation Christmas Child 300K. It's right after this.
And when those lids come off those boxes, you've never seen such pure joy.
This is amazing. As you can see, the children's faces, they're excited as they open up the gifts for the first time.
What makes the gifts more than just gifts is the message that comes with the gift.
This is the opportunity for a child to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ.
The mission of Operation Christmas Child never changes. Children are coming to Jesus, and children are taking the gospel to the ends of the earth.
Millions of children around the world are being impacted by these simple shoebox gifts. One box can touch not just a child, but the whole family. So we need to keep packing those boxes and pray for the children that God will use this in a very special way. So thank you for being a part of it. God bless you.
This is an Interstate battery. More pros trust this than any other out there. Yeah, more pros. More. Even more pros. Keep going. Moss. Look, we're gonna run out of time before we run out of pros who like Interstate. I mean, we'll run out of time before we even run out of left-handed pros who knit. These pros are everywhere, which means so is this battery. Right around the corner, up the street, everywhere. Interstate batteries, outrageously dependable.
And back with you here from the Texas Motor Speedway for the running of the Operation Christmas Child 300K. And, of course, it is wonderful that this league is coming together for such a great cause tonight. M&R will be donating $3,000 after today. And, of course, fans can vote on their favorite paint scheme for tonight if they go to givesendgo.com/Monday Night Racing. You can comment on your favorite scheme to vote for that. A great thing the Monday Night Racing is doing tonight here to try and raise money for Operation Christmas Child. So we are very happy to support it. And, of course, if you're out there on any of our platforms, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching on Twitch, you can see it right there in the chat, by the way. If you're on Twitch, !donate in the chat. We'll bring up that link where you can donate to Operation Christmas Child. So, again, if you're so inclined, we would ask if you would donate to that. Again, a wonderful cause that they are doing, and proud to support that here at Monday Night Racing tonight. As Kenneth Bueno will take a look right here at Texas Motor Speedway. It looks a little bit different than what we've been accustomed to the last couple of years, but that's why we love it.
It's definitely different, but in a very good way, and we mean it. 1.5 miles, you'll find the same length from the old version of this Texas Motor Speedway to the new one, but this is the 2008 iRacing scan of it. So this is before the entire reconfiguration, the banking change in 1 and 2, everything that they did to change the track in 2017, that's all gone. We've got the old and beloved Texas this time through. 24 degrees you'll find in the corners. That is 1 through 4, so no changes on either side of the racetrack. 45-mile-per-hour pit road speed limit, which is going to matter significantly if we end up in a pit road green flag stretch where guys are really going to have to stomp on the brakes for these Xfinity cars. And of course, it's an asphalt surface and not changed at all. Very bumpy, very insane to race, and it's going to make it so much fun with this track returning to the M&R schedule.
It is such a great racing facility, and this is how they will line up. Qualifying is complete, and at the end of it all, I'm telling you what, my pick, Raja Caruth on pole tonight, 29.507 seconds. Bailey Turner going to start alongside on road number 1. So Raja Caruth tonight, winner, the Roasted Gems Coffee Pole Award. Nick Olson will roll off from 3rd. Chase Cabry starts in the 4th position to the tonight on the outside of row number 2. Reed Wilson will start in 5th. Colin Fern, he'll go from the 6th starting spot tonight. Ryan Vargas here at the Texas Motor Speedway, he'll go from 7th and is in a tie with Robbie Lyons in terms of qualifying time. 29.599 for both of those drivers. They roll off 7th and 8th. And we have another tie right here. Alex LeBay and Presley Sora round out your top 10 here, Kenneth.
No tie in time this time through, but P11 you'll find James Bickford for Charlotte Phoenix. It'll be Carson Hocevar, who played a significant role in last week's race. He's going to be on the lead lap though, P12 when we drop the green. Our in-race supporter presented by Tufco Flooring, Josh Balicki, will be inside row number 7, P13. Will Rogers into 7. Eric Estep's pick will be in that position. David Schildhouse, the final driver in your top 15. He is joined alongside by the 41 of Matt Stallneck. Gary Sexton in the number 23 for Dirty Air. He'll be 17th. He'll have Garrett Smithley, your Talladega winner, in P18. Adam Cabot in the 17 rolls deep. P19 he'll get the green flag from. And Preston Pardis, P-Money, Jacob Hitz outside in P20.
Brendan Brown will start 21st, and in 22nd, if you remember him at this track last year, you're in for a show. It's Leighton Sabile, who was drifting around Texas the last time we were here in Season 5. He'll roll off 22nd. 23rd is Joey Padgett. Justin Malillo will start in the 24th starting spot tonight. 25th will go to George Balafans Jr. 26th is Gabe Wood. Starting at 27th tonight will be Max Kinnon. 28th, Ronnie Osmer. DJ Cummings goes off from 29th, and Joey Savacci will start in 30th.
Back in P31, you'll find rookie driver Connor Berry in the 02, Devin Henry out of Glendale, Arizona, 32nd, Steve O'Font, 33rd. It'll be league owner Ford Martin in 34th. In your top 35 will be Stephen Ellis in the number 46, Brett Baldeck for the 44 car. He'll be in 36. Josh Slate, Seth Eggert, 37th, 38th, Michael Fisher, Mark Rubilis, Michael Massey, and then Anthony Alfredo, Jordan Buster, not taking time, and some developments there in the back of the field. 43 cars full here tonight from Texas.
That is your BST Shocks starting grid. And Jacob Hitz, we have a couple of stories right before we head off here from pit road. What you got?
Yeah, so Anthony Alfredo, guys, you talked about him not setting a time in qualifying. He's had connection issues only in iRacing since he joined the session. What that means is Discord's working fine, internet's working fine, Twitter, so on. He's on Ethernet. Just iRacing is giving him issues. He is not able to get in, did not set a time in practice, did not set a time in qualifying. He will not race tonight. He's going to have to use this for his drop in that push for the playoffs, since they do have a drop to use. In the meantime, some late breaking news on David Schildhouse, the driver of the 20, starting from the 15th position. He put it out on Twitter, sent me a little notice earlier this evening as well, that he burned himself. Was doing some cleaning on the stove, was on the phone while he was doing that, and one burner was on, cleaning a different burner, and, well, he missed and wound up on the burner that was on. Burned himself. He's got it bandaged up. In talking with him before practice, just talked with him after qualifying, and he said that, well, he's been better. And he says, I don't know how this thing's going to go, but he also thinks he's going to win this thing. Blake?
Well, he's starting off from 15th, and I thought that missing the championship 4 was enough of a burn for David Schildhouse last year. But nevertheless, I would say pretty good in practice, and I don't know, we'll see how it happens. Some drivers are able to rise to that challenge. You put them in a little bit of a disadvantage, they find a way to rise above. So we'll see how David Schildhouse can manage all of that. On the left-hand side of your screen, you can see our Grid Rival matchups. Grid Rival is the most in-depth fantasy motorsports manager game on the planet. Of course, this is all for fun, but you can take a look at all of our head-to-head matchups right there in the what would be betting odds if they were made for Grid Rival today on this race. You can see right there at the top, Adam Cabot, Kenneth's pick, the favorite at plus 1,000 right there. So again, that's all for fun, but we appreciate Grid Rival and their support of Monday Night Racing. You can check out Grid Rival on the Grid Rival app on the Apple Store if you're on iPhone, or on Google Play if you have an Android. Pace car will roll off. The field will work into the hands of Raja Karuth, who gets the pole here tonight. Green flag is in the air, and we are off here in their Operation Christmas Child 300K. So far, so good, as Raja Karuth will come around to complete lap number 1. He'll take the lead. You see Nick Olson right there in second. Reed Wilson will he rises up to the 3rd position, started in 5th, and many of these drivers electing to go to the bottom as they are all chasing the driver out of Washington, D.C., Raja Karuth. But Nick Olson looking to make a play for the lead here into turn 3.
This is going to matter. Track position is so very important, and at a track, Blake, similar to Twin Ring Motegi, in the fact that the bottom is just the fastest way around the track, and everybody is going to want to be there just because they don't want to lose time for absolutely no reason. Track position going to be so vital, and for the moment, it's working for Nick Olson. He moves to the lead, and Karuth struggling to find an opening. Now he finds one, so he'll fall back to 5th, and now we have another challenge for the lead. How about Reed Wilson at a Team Joyride looking for P1, turn 3.
So looking for our 3rd lead change here to complete lap number 3 and into lap number 4. And it looks like Wilson off the corner, that bottom groove looking awfully strong right now, just as it did in practice. So Reed Wilson will take the lead, and heck, even before you know it, Bailey Turner, he may be our 4th leader here before too long.
This is going to be a huge scrapple for that P1 spot, and Wilson did remarkably well at the Daytona Road Course 1 week ago, finished inside the top 10. He's riding high on a lot of momentum. Turner on the other end of that, who fell to 19th at the end of that race 1 week ago, and Wilson already commanding the field well. You take a look at Ryan Vargas in the 26 as he currently sits comfortably in P4, and Chase Cabria slipped in 5th, got by Raja Karuth, and so did Colin Fern. So Karuth on the drop back earlier on and might be under more fire because Robbie Lyons, Alex LeBay in the mix as well.
Well, again, I think you have to wonder how much you want to balance kind of running on the bottom there, running in the middle. You can see somebody who was very accomplished on the iRacing side of things here in Carson Hocevar, who currently runs just behind what was your pole sitter here tonight in Raja Caruth, who has fallen all the way back already on lap number 6 to the 8th position. Hocevar started just outside the top 10, rolled off from 12th, and is currently up to 9th. But you see it is mostly single file out front. You still see a lot of side-by-side, though, further back on in the pack. And you can see Colin Fern, somebody who's, we know a time or two, is not willing to be all too patient with some drivers. But also Jacob Hitz, I know coming into tonight, there was a little bit going on between these two drivers and what they said they might do. So it was interesting to see how that played out.
Whoa! Raja Caruth, I'm sorry, Blake, I just watched Carson Hocevar send it down into turn number 1. He's done that these last couple laps. That's how he's been picking guys off, and he made contact with Raja Caruth. I'm sure Raja was not happy about that move. He's going to lose about half a dozen spots as they were racing through turn 1. They keep it straight, but man alive, Carson Hocevar. It's early on in this thing, but no regard for anybody on the racetrack. He's leaving it all out there right now.
And this will put Caruth back to 16th as, yeah, you can see Hocevar make that move, and it was aggressive. I don't know if Caruth expected it, but nevertheless, Caruth doesn't look like he has any damage on the left side of that car. We know that iRacing, this Xfinity car, damage seems to be pretty sensitive here in this car, but unfortunately for Caruth, who started on pole, mind you, it has just not gone his way since the drop of the green flag, Kenneth.
It definitely hasn't, and once you're stuck in that outside, and even if you're in that situation where you get pushed up a couple of lanes in this Texas Motor Speedway where the high lines are so slow comparative to the bottom, you're going to struggle. And for the 13 of Caruth, it has already become a struggle bus for him. 19th on the racetrack right now, but they are absolutely tussling for position way up the road. Remember Hocevar, who got into Caruth? He's now fighting for 7th. That's Robbie Lyons on the outside. You're watching the Seminole Florida's number 2 perspective on the rear end of his Chevrolet Camaro, and inside goes Hocevar. They were almost about 3 wide, but back to your point, Blake, Raja Caruth, this is definitely not the way he wanted the night to start after being on pole, because this is arguably the biggest drop-off since the start of the race by far.
Well, I tell you what, that last lap, Colin Fern threw a mean block on Carson Hocevar getting into turn number 3. This time, though, he elects not to throw that same block off at turn 2, so Hocevar has very quickly found himself up into the 7th position, and again, Fern threw it, and I don't know if that was going to work out for him past that, but nevertheless, they live to fight another lap. So Hocevar up to 6th. Presley Sora is up into 7th. And Hocevar may have gotten a piece of the apron in turn 2. Here comes Presley Sora.
He's going to slide up, and now inside goes Sora. That should be a quick made position pass, and you're right on board with Balicki, who's in that fight with Fern, currently for 8th on the racetrack. But what happened right there is something we're going to see very often, Blake, especially once we step into a long run. Once those tires really start to wear out, you're going to see more of those mistakes. Drivers kicking out the rear end, drivers sliding up the racetrack, and then the guys behind them, if they find a good position, they find a good run out of the corner, that should be an easy made pass and some extra points along the way as well. So it's a lot about keeping your discipline and keeping that car planted, because that's going to be so important in a car that really doesn't have that much downforce, and one that relies on you, the driver, to save the tire and make sure you don't step it out. As Robbie Lyons looks underneath Josh Balicki. This is for the last spot in the top 10.
So Balicki on the outside, Lyons on the inside. We'll talk to Josh a little bit later on in the night. Here's our Tough Go Flooring in-race reporter for the evening as he's able to find his way down to the bottom of the racetrack just in front of Robbie Lyons. So Balicki right now just on the outskirts of the top 10. Still some good battling going on back there, though. Leighton Sabile, who we mentioned at pre-race, he was completely sideways nearly the entire time we were out here in Season 5. He's fallen back to 13th, and then how about Burt Hand at all? David Schildhouse not looking to be slowed down by his injury at all as he's moved up a couple of spots here since we got going on here on lap number 14.
You know, I was going to mention that kind of like a Michael Jordan.
Trouble on the back straightaway. Reed Wilson in a vicious crash, reminiscent of a crash he had in practice, and the entire field is piling in. Robbie Lyons, Adam Cabot, David Schildhouse, Balicki just squeaks by. Garrett Smithley is involved. A track blocker here on the back straightaway at Texas, the big one. Here in the Lone Star State, they do everything bigger in Texas, and boy, this accident, no exception to that.
And what's also going to be big is the number of drivers coming down pit road for that beloved fast repair that they desperately need. But look at this. This is Ryan Vargas looking underneath Reed Wilson, makes slight contact. Wilson slides up the track. And I saw a couple of instances of this in practice where drivers spun around, especially near the exit of turn 2, came back across the racing surface and just gets everyone involved. Look at Carruth going end over end before landing on all fours next to Schildhouse and Robbie Lyons in that trio. You see Rogers, Cabot, the 12 machine of Brandon Brown. This is an ugly scene out of turn 2. Here's a look on board from the 86, who had a while before he got to the accident itself, but it does not get pretty from here.
No, it does not. And really, I mean, from the start of that accident, there's really only about one or two. I think Leighton Sabile and Alex LeBay, who escaped from that. The entire track, you can see it right there, was completely blocked by mangled race cars. Josh Balicki, Colin Fern, Ronnie Osmer, Preston Pardis, Garrett Smithley, Robbie Lyons, Schildhouse, Carruth, Rogers, Cabot. Connor Berry ended up escaping. Slate was involved. Brown. I mean, I'm trying to name who all was involved in it. I think I ought to just name who wasn't involved in it. That would have been a lot easier. I mean, that was almost half, or there was at least 20 cars. I think it's the proper way to put it.
It was a large pileup, and at that point, you're right on board with Pardis, who was one of the lucky survivors out of this. But, I mean, at that point, when so many drivers get involved, cars are ricocheting across the back straightaway, it's so hard to predict. So, you can't fault a lot of these guys for accidentally being a part of this, because a lot of times they have nowhere to go. So it involves many drivers, and fast repairs are going to be intense in the amount of them that the drivers are going to take on pit road. Jacob Hitz, I have to imagine the scene is immensely busy after this first caution.
It's a triage center down here on pit road. A lot of messed up race cars. A lot of guys just taking fast repairs, but not all. Brandon Brown just pulled out of his box. He did not take his fast repair. His car looks like a modified. Right now, Ford Martin, he did not take his fast repair. The front end of his car is all beaten up. Drivers that did check the fast repair under this pit stop, whether they meant to or not. Robbie Lyons used his. He's up inside the top 10. Not quite sure if he got a piece of that or not. Stephen Ellis used his. Will Rogers used his. Schildhouse, Reed Wilson, Kennan, Cabot, Carruth, Justin Lillo, Colin Fern, all using their fast repairs on this pit stop. Now, most of the field came down onto pit road under this caution flag. Couple of exceptions to that. Mark Rabilis stayed out. I'll be honest, I'm not sure what he's doing because he's past the pace car. Not sure if he's trying to line up as the leader or not. Nick Olson was the first car off of pit road. He took just fuel only. Everybody else that came onto pit road took, for the most part, 4 tires and fuel. One car I need to check, Brett Baldeck. He was in this box for just 7 seconds. Same with Devin Henry. Didn't use their fast repair, either of them, but they're back toward the middle of the field. Nonetheless, Nick Olson, fuel only, saving a set of tires. Everybody else taking 4 and fuel. And a lot of people not happy about people not holding the brakes there. And Josh Mendoza just fired back at the field saying, look, I threw the caution. That's that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything else you can do. We saw it happening. If you see cars flying and just going everywhere on the back straightaway, I'm sure at some point you kind of recognize that the caution's going to come out, whether it's out that instant or not. It was out pretty quickly, though, I must say. So no fault there from race control. The furthest running driver up the field that did use a fast repair, I believe, is Robbie Lyons. He's in 7th. So that just tells you the amount of cars that were involved in this latest incident. But he has used it. A good majority of the field has used it. There's not many cars that at least I can see. I'm trying to kind of scroll through my field right now to see who didn't use it. George Belfans Jr. didn't use it. And remember, he fell out of the playoffs because of that. He didn't use his fast repair at Texas for a caution last week, or last season, rather. And then guess what? They never had another yellow. We went green to the end. So an interesting strategy call. Looks like Brandon Brown has elected to keep the damage that is on his race car as well. But everyone else that, as far as I can tell, has come down that was involved in that incident used that fast repair. So out front, Nick Olson will resume the race lead. And we'll get things back going here for the Operation Christmas Child 300K on lap 19. Green flag back in the air here at Texas.
And We'll see just how long Olsen survives on that set of tires that he's kept since the drop of the green, because everybody else behind him took 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles, and now here comes the charge, starting with Bailey Turner. A block almost set by Olsen, but he cannot ignore the run at Turner's building up into turn 3. So this should be an easy pass for Turner. Olsen slides up the track, and then here comes the brigade. Vargas, Sora, Chase Cabry, the 39, all of them in it. Carson Hocevar on the back end of this as well. Looks like Sora's going to get held up on the outside, but Bailey Turner, new race leader, back to turn 1.
Turner resumes the race lead. That pink Merry Christmas machine for Bailey Turner. You got Vargas, Cabry. Another newcomer that we've been talking about a lot this year, has been on the iRacing service for quite a long time. He's up into the 3rd spot. Presley Sora side by side with him for 4th. And we are hearing reports that Anthony Alfredo, despite his internet issues, is rolling right now, and he is on the apron in turns 1 and 2. So Anthony Alfredo will not have a DNF tonight. He has scored 19 laps down, but apparently the internet finally cooperating at a point that he can roll and at least compete here tonight. So Alfredo out of the box, so to speak, as Nick Olsen, who was the race leader, is just free falling through the field on those old tires.
And that's big, Blake. Anthony Alfredo returning to the racetrack despite all those issues that he suffered throughout practice, throughout qualifying, and even through the first leg of tonight's race from Texas Motor Speedway. That's going to be big because Jacob Hitz mentioned on the pre-race right before we took the green that he most likely will have to utilize his drop in the points. He's sitting 16th after the Daytona Road Course last week. So him just making a couple laps, even if he is 19 laps down, it just opens a door of opportunity. Drivers who end up crashing, who end up suffering other issues and get taken out of the race by circumstance, Alfredo can jump those couple of spots and at least salvage somewhat of a point stay here at Texas. That's huge for the 23 if he can stay on track.
Well, he just fell out again.
No, well, never mind.
It's just one of those nights for Anthony Alfredo, but he did get scored. I mean, you'd assume this would be the drop, but at least he did not get a DNS tonight. It's going to be likely a DNF with those internet issues. So unfortunate for Alfredo, and we'll see if he can try and rally his way back. Speaking of rallying their way back, right now Raja Caruth was our pole sitter. He is running in 23rd. Jacob Hitz has more.
Yeah, Raja Caruth trying to make his way through the field and was really aggressive at that restart, trying to pick his way through the cars that are in front of him. He sits in that 23rd position, and just heard him talking over the radio to his spotter, Jordan Hayes, up on the spotter stand, and his spotter came over and told him, look, you got to focus on entry. Entry is where you're going to burn off that right front tire. Take it easy on entry. That'll keep your car running a little bit longer just in case we get a green flag run. So that's been the push so far for Raja Caruth. Keep track of that right front tire. Don't burn it off. Try to charge through the field. Blake?
Some good advice there, especially at a combo where if that right front does wear, it becomes really difficult to try and make that back up. You could see a pretty decent gap. Your top 4 have well broken away by about a second, maybe about a second and a half, call it, with Turner, Sora, Sabile, and Vargas, your top 4, and a huge gap back to Carson Hocevar, who has gotten the best of that battle from 5th on back. So Hocevar, and you can see them, they are diving all over the place, everybody kind of protecting that low line entering turn 3. This reminds me of kind of new Texas, Kenneth, where you're going so slow off of turn 2 with the new configuration that you kind of have to block down the backstretch, and the banking in 3 and 4 will help you make it. This is almost reminiscent of that, and that, I think, shows you how important this bottom lane is right now to these drivers.
Yeah, it is so vital. But look at Rogers moving it to the high side. It looks like that maneuver might actually work at a turn 2. I almost doubted it for a second, but you're right. Everybody is chasing toward the very bottom of the racetrack just so they can keep that position. That has mattered significantly around the latter half of this top 10. And even outside of it, you look at Connor Berry, the rookie driver who's moved up from 31st on the grid to P11 and maybe getting inside the top 10 for the first time tonight. Gary Sexton, David Schildhaus. A bulk of these guys, Blake, who were somewhat or fully involved in that accident there on our first caution on the back straightaway. So there's just a lot of fighting up here. It looks like Cabry's on a free fall right now. He has dropped to 14th on the track in a matter of a lap or so.
He's falling quite quickly. The driver that just passed him, though, or at least did a couple of laps ago, how about Connor Berry, somebody who has made his way on up. 31st is now running in 10th from that 31st starting position. So Connor Berry doing a nice job trying to move up the order as it runs right now. So good job for car number 40. Right behind him, David Schildhouse. We were talking about the burnt hand. It doesn't seem to be bothering him too much. He was involved in that latest accident. So did have to use a fast repair, but he currently runs in the 11th position. Trying to look back here, we've had a number of guys who just have really fallen. Even Nick Olson, you talk about saving a set of tires, he's fallen all the way back to 24th position right now. So that strategy call not exactly working out for him, as you see Schildhouse on your screen going by for 10th.
And is there a way you can somewhat compare the situation that you pointed out with George Balfans Jr., where he didn't use a fast repair, expected a yellow, and the waste went green all the way throughout? Could this be the same phenomenon happening to Olson, where the caution came out, he's saving a set for strategy's sake, but the track position that's lost is just going to be so much to overcome if this race stays green? Of course, we're only 31 laps into this 125-lap race. So much more left to be decided, but at the same time, with this combo and just how much discipline it takes to run well around here, the field is going to thin out, and so we may be conducive to these long green flag runs. And I have to feel for Olson, who's just trying to save a couple of more sets of those Goodyear Eagles, and it might matter at the end of the race. But at this point, dropping to 25th, the race has stayed green. Most of the field is single file. But this spill is some bad news if you're that 24.
It does, unless he gets a caution right about now. I mean, 10 laps, that would be at a part of the race where you kind of question whether you want to take more sets of tires if you are somebody that pit that last time. So it just depends. Again, if a caution comes out in the next lap or two, he may look like an absolute genius, and it nearly did off of turn 2. Balicki got high, got a little tight off of 2, nearly came back down into Max Kinnon off of turn number 2. So that was close right there to that yellow that Nick Olson may have needed, but he's not going to get it. At least it doesn't look like it so far out front, with Sora, Turner, Sabile, and Vargas still kind of maintaining that gap they had built back to 5th. It's about a second and a half, and it's stayed about that same distance for the last handful of laps or so.
Yeah, it has, and that tells you just how quick Turner is on the long run. Specifically that last lap, 30.708 for Turner, a 30.737 by your current race leader. Sooner than later, we may see Turner strike and make a move. It just depends on the timing and the amount of momentum that he has. But Sora trying to rebound here, Blake, from last week. Daytona Road Course did not go his way at all to start, and didn't go his way throughout the entire race. We could have imagined that maybe things would have turned around at some point before that 98. He had to settle for 29th on the track. He sits 3rd in points right now, which is all fine behind the drivers who have already locked themselves in via wins so far this season. But Sora is looking to regain momentum, and this right now, leading this race, is key. Although Bailey Turner's really knocking on the door, there might be a chance that he breaks it down at some point.
That he is, as he was entering really low to try to find a way under the Shaq iGear Chevrolet, and he may just have the runs he needs. Off of turn number 2, Bailey Turner down to the inside, looking into turn number 3, and it looks like Sora not going to put up much of a fight, and he will slot his way back in line behind Bailey Turner. So Turner goes back up to the point here at Texas on lap 36.
Great move by Turner. Textbook moving underneath, and then Sora being smart not to fight him too harshly for it, and just letting back, staying in second. Again, they want to keep that gap that they're holding over Leighton Sabile, Ryan Vargas, and even Carson Osavar, who has slightly picked things up. We talked about the top 4, Blake, being as far as 1 second ahead of 5th place Hocevar. That has now decreased to roughly 0.3 of a second and closing drastically. You're right on board with the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series driver for Nice Motorsports, and Hocevar doing a lot of work. And this is also a great turnaround, Blake, from what happened 1 week ago, where he was a lap car, having a lot of fun in the front of the field, but wasn't in contention for the win. This time, it looks like a different scenario, and for good. Lap 37 in control, potentially to make it into, or at least deeper into the top 5.
This is what I've expected to see from Carson Hocevar. A lot of speed, a lot of experience here in iRacing. He sports by far the highest I rating in this field at roughly 7,500. So Carson Hocevar going to be a force to be reckoned with, Jacob.
Carson Hocevar has been really, really fast since the drop of the green flag, and he's up 7 spots since the drop. Now 8 spots since the drop of the green flag. Just a note on the race leader, though, in Bailey Turner. Was a little surprised to see him up at the front of the field. And then I look back at the results from a season ago. He finished 4th in this race behind Corey Heim, who won, Adam Cabot in 2nd, and Anthony Alfredo in that 3rd spot. So Bailey Turner showing his muscle on the 1.5 miles out here in front of the field. And you look at Presley Sora, he came away with a top 10 in the 10th position a season ago. So 2 guys that were no slouches by any stretch at this track a season ago running up the front so far here from Texas. Blake?
No shockers there that translates here. This is a track where it really seems those drivers that have it figured out are able to find themselves at the front of the field time and time again. As you see Turner roll across your screen here on lap 40. Again, I want to apologize for the technical difficulties with some of the graphics we're having right now. We're trying the best we can to try to get that fixed for you as soon as possible. It is a lap 40 right now. You have Turner, Presley Sora, your top 2. Carson Hocevar just made a pass by Leighton Sabile for that 3rd spot. Then you have Sabile back to 4th, Vargas 5th, Alex Labey is in 6th, Will Rogers runs 7th, Robbie Lyons 8th, Matt Stolnick in 9th, and David Schildhaus rounds out your top 10. Now your leaders starting to work towards a little bit of lap traffic here. Again, we talked about George Belfans Jr. did not use his fast repair, went a lap down with required repairs, still didn't use the fast repair, and well, he's about to go a second lap down, but we'll pause on that real quick. Jacob, we have takers on pit road.
It's only one, and it's the guy that took fuel only on the pit stop right around lap number 15, lap 16. Nick Olson makes his way onto pit road. He's joined by Colin Fern. Fern pulls into his box. They both go to work on the right sides. Brandon Brown comes in here as well. Now you pit at this point. You're about a quarter of the way through this race, maybe a little bit more. Olson, Fern, they're both down and away. Brandon Brown will be down and away here shortly. You pit here, take tires. Okay, you've got 3 tires left for Olson. And now you're sort of back on strategy. But at this point in time, I'm not quite sure. Now, Mark Rabillas says he's going to pit. He did not pit at the first caution flag either. So still trying to figure out exactly how all of this is going to play out as far as strategy at this point, just because there is such a long way to go in this race. And now really you've got 2 completely different strategies. The few against the many, because the leaders right now, they're on 28 lap old tires this time by. Nick Olson just took his first set.
Well, Jacob, I'll ask you, so we're running a little bit less fuel than what these cars can typically hold. Only 14 gallons can go into these cars tonight. They're restricted through the session and how much fuel they can add. I imagine that many of these drivers, you mentioned Olson and Rabillas, who have to come down pit road, this is probably right on the edge of their fuel window, considering that they have not pit in this race. So we're looking at, I don't know, 40, just under 40 laps or so on that shortened fuel tank.
That's what I was thinking, and you have to remember Olson stopped and did take fuel on that first pit stop, so he had the fuel advantage that not everybody else would have had. A lot of the guys in the back of the field aren't pitting this time. George Belfans Jr., Ronnie Osborne, they're all going to make the call to pit road this time by, as well as Devin Henry. So Nick Olson, obviously, he could have gone a little bit further, but I think the tires is what the killer was for that 24 Chevrolet. As far as Mark Rabillas, he did not stop. So yeah, I'm thinking if you get a caution, you can make it 40 laps, or if you save pretty aggressively, you can make it 40 laps. Otherwise, I think you're looking more at a 30, 35 lap window, which makes sense. You have 4 sets of tires, you split this race up into quarters, you pit around lap 30, then lap 60, then lap 90. You're going to make it to about 120, make it a 3-stop race. So if you extend that just a little bit, you can make it to the end perfectly fine.
All right, I'm sure a lot of strategy will play out here. As again, most of our drivers did pit under that last caution flag, so they can still go a little bit further, probably about 10 laps or so, I would say. than most of the drivers that just came down. Bailey Turner still your leader. Presley Sora in second. You can see a number of cars starting to work their way off of the apron, and they're growing in number in terms of who's pit. Devin Henry coming off the pit lane. You have Brett Baldeck, who was just up the road. Seth Eggert, who made their way down to the pit road as well. Matt Stolnick, you can see right there on your screen, getting passed, as looks like our technical issues, at least for the moment, looks like it's cooperating with us. But Carson Hocevar, also late in this run, has continued lap by lap, Kenneth, to reel in these race leaders, about a tenth and a half that last go around. So I think Hocevar, that 42 car, fastest car on the racetrack. It's only a matter of time until he takes it, or at least is right there to try to challenge for the race lead.
For sure, and the lap cars that are moving their way through this field, you look at Devin Henry picking his way through Sora, now going to move his way through Bailey Turner, the couple of other drivers that were in front, Ronnie Osmer, and a couple, I believe Brandon Brown in there as well. That's forcing these guys to use the high side, force them to be a little slower, and so that's only opening the door further for Carson Hocevar. He was going to catch them anyway. He was setting laps comparatively faster by a large margin, but it's just the lap cars, circumstance, it's all helping the driver of the 9 machine right now. You see the view out of his Chevrolet Camaro. He's got the sight of the 98 of Sora. He's got Turner right in front of him by a couple of car lengths, so sooner than later, and this should be big as well, since we're heading into our first potential green flag stop sequence. Hocevar taking the lead is going to be big here if he can do it at lap 50.
Hear a call over the radio. A couple more drivers will head down to the pit lane here in just a couple of moments. I believe DJ Cummings was going to join that group. Our Toughco in-race pit reporter, Josh Balicki, or in-race reporter, I guess I should say. Jacob Hitz is taking the pit reporting duties tonight. But he will make his way onto the pit lane, or just did. He's back out onto the racetrack. It looks like Barry has spun, or at least spun entering the pit lane. Of course, no caution flags, but that number 40 of Connor Barry took a spill entering the pit lane. We saw this last year as well. I believe it was Matt Stolnick that had an issue pitting in the playoffs last season with that. But right now, your battle for second is heating up. Carson Hocevar on the bottom. He has caught Presley Sora, and he is looking to try and make that pass and go chase down Bailey Turner.
What I want to find out here, Blake, is how the pit road sequence is going to work, especially with this top 3. If Hocevar gets by Turner, what does Turner do? And then now, vice versa as well. With Hocevar getting by Sora, what does the 98 do? Do they want to undercut, or do they just want to stay out? And figure as if Hocevar is not in this picture, we can imagine that Hocevar might stay out as long as possible. He's the fastest car on the racetrack, and he definitely does not want to take any chances, I don't believe, by pitting earlier than these guys or short pitting. So we'll just have to see. But Hocevar cleared away the fastest car out of the top 3 and in the rest of the field for sure. And it looks like he's going to catch Bailey Turner with a lot of ferocity, and with the lap cars in the mix as well, it's only going to hurt. And I figure here as well, top 3, maybe in their own league, Blake, because 4th on back, you can forget about it. Leighton Sabile, about a 2nd and 7 tenths behind these guys. Ryan Vargas, a couple of tenths behind Sabile. Alex Abey, Will Rogers, they're on somewhat in a pack of their own, but they are really separating themselves at a distance between themselves in the top 3. So it's really going to matter on where these 3 most notably pit and how Sora and Turner react to Hocevar picking his way into this battle.
I think you're completely right, Kenneth. I think you want to err on the side of being conservative if you're up here in the lead. You don't want to risk pitting, getting trapped a lap down, and then having to kind of flip your race around to try and get back on the lead lap or get back in contention. But I don't think you want to overreact right here if you're Turner or Sora. Right now, Hocevar, he's looking a little bit loose right now. He's not completely as fast or chasing them down quite as quickly as he was, so I don't think you want to overreact to the fact that he's driven up and caught everybody. You don't want to just throw a strategy out the window. And you have to think you're out here for points, you're out here for wins. But right now, I mean, if you're Presley Sora, you're sitting 3rd in the points. You're looking awfully good right now. Bailey Turner right now, he's the one who's trying to make up a lot of those points, not in the top 20 right now. So if anything, he has the most to gain here tonight. But right now, Turner just managing his race, and we'll have to see how the rest of the top 10 reacts and how much longer these drivers can go on fuel. I don't believe it's that much longer before we see a good majority starting to work down. Rogers, Cabot, they are working down as well. And a black flag for Will Rogers we're hearing, Jacob.
flying coming down pit road. He had Cabot and Cabry trying to slow down in front of him, and Will Rogers was easily going 10 mile an hour faster trying to get down onto pit road and just could not get that thing slowed down in time. Flying onto pit road, and yeah, he's going to have to sit in the box and think about what he just did there. Been watching pit entry, especially after Connor Berry did his little slide on the brakes trying to slow that thing down in time. Somehow he did not get a black flag. He was able to slow it down in time. Will Rogers not able to, though, and he's going to take what was a good run for him and throw that out the window right now with that black flag. It's going to cost him a ton of time, more than likely put him a lap down to the leaders, as we're going to have even more folks coming to pit road this time by, including Ryan Vargas.
Ryan Vargas, Alex LeBay, and boy, was it tight for them to try to get on with traffic swirling around them on the racetrack. They're able to make their way down to the pit lane safely. So does Preston Pardis, who was a little bit further back, and we see some smoke at the entrance of pit road, but no spin.
I thought Bickford did the same thing that Will Rogers did, but somehow he got it stopped. Wow. I thought for sure he overshot his box by 1.5 miles, and he got it down in time.
That was perfect. I mean, that was as perfect of a pit entry as you can get, and he did get it slowed down below 50 miles an hour. We'll see it one more time. That's not the commitment line. This is, and by there he's going 48 miles an hour, so that's about as perfect. You want to talk about making time up, entering pit lane, that's all of it right there.
That is so impressive, Blake. And what makes it more impressive, I talked about it in our track facts, the 45 mile an hour pit road speed limit is, here comes your top three with Sora, Hocevar, and Turner all coming in. Looks like Sora with a little bit of a late arc entering the pit lane, but they're all going to come in collectively together. That's very impressive for Bickford because it's so hard to hit the brakes and turn at the same time. You've got worn out Goodyear Eagles. This track surface is only getting hotter as the afternoon progresses in sim. And so for Bickford to do that, gain all that time, that is definitely huge for the Charlotte Phoenix Toyota Supra. It's going to be bigger now that the top three have come in, because that hands the lead to Raja Karuth, who's going to keep himself out for a little longer. We'll see if he comes in this time. I think he is. Just set it into the chat.
Yeah, just one more lap that he's going to stay out longer than your race leaders as he works his way down in the pit lane. He had worked his way back up to about the 12th position before this cycle began, so he is making up some ground, trying to get back into the top 10. Now you still have a couple of drivers that are out there on the racetrack. Max Kinnon has pit, Gabe Wood, so this is about the length that you can go here on fuel. And Kenneth, I don't think these guys, they're not going to be able to make it on one more stop. It's going to have to be 2 stops. 65 laps to the end, you're going to have to come down at least one more time.
Oh, that's definitely true. We're looking at an extra stop. A caution definitely is going to help the case. It's just a matter of the placement of the yellow, but you're right. You're definitely needing at least one more stop if you want this race. And there's some cars sideways on the back straightaway. That looks to be Bailey Turner, who was your race leader, has parked it on the apron, and the caution does not fly. He's under the racing line.
He was down on the bottom. Reed Wilson saved it. Nick Olson is pleading for a caution because he wants it with his strategy call. We're going to take a look at it one more time. Wilson right here off the corner. You can see that 66 car. Turner trying to get by on the fresher tires. And Turner spins to the inside out of the racing line. Single car spin. No caution. So Turner, who was a part of that fight up front, gets spun, no caution, and he's going to have to try to fight his way back now.
Yeah, that's huge, and in a bad way for the 5 of Turner. And we talk about, especially here with these tracks, and even other intermediates across the schedule that aren't as tough as this Texas Motor Speedway, at least the legacy version of it on iRacing, is the huge discrepancy that you have when you have worn tires. You've got fresh tire cars trying to rubbage around you. For Turner, I believe he was just trying to hold out hope that Wilson was going to slide up the track, give the space, and Turner could just arc it down low, make that pass in turn 3. It did not happen. The gap closed in enough time. Turner could not expect it, makes the contact, and that is a huge blown dealt to the 5 of Turner, who was just trying to change his momentum, change the tide, and the 5 may just be out of contention for the win, especially if a yellow doesn't come out from here on.
Well, and at the beginning of that cycle, Nick Olson Remember, he was the first driver to come down and pit, so he had the race lead. He no longer has it because his tires are much older than everybody else's. He nearly had contact right there off the corner with Chase Cabry, and Olsen trying to do all he can not to cause a yellow, but he's not going to make it easy on these drivers who are on much fresher tires than him. He needs a yellow. There's no doubt about it. If he were to get one, it would be a great strategy play. And almost contact made there with Ryan Vargas as Olsen cut down in front of him, and Vargas about a second and a half quicker came just steamrolling there into turn 3. That was almost the caution that Nick would have needed.
And again, the same situation that we saw with Turner, just minimized how much faster the fresh tire cars are compared to the worn tire guys. It matters significantly, especially when you're hitting that break in the middle of the corner. And we talk about the lack of lines here at this Legacy Texas Motor Speedway, plays a big factor into it as well, because you're all looking for the faster line around the racetrack, the very bottom. You're not going to go for the middle. You're not going to settle for the top. You want the bottom, and you want to have it. As there's a crash, I believe, Jacob hits. There might have been a problem near the rear of the field, I believe, on the back straightaway.
Yeah, Seth Eggert was the cork in the bottle. Max Kennan tried to get by him, and Eggert just kind of held him up. He slid up the racetrack and nowhere for Melillo to go. Melillo got into the back of him, and that's what turned Eggert around. He side-slapped the inside safety barrier on the exit of turn number 2, kept it pointed in the right direction, may have broken some suspension on the left side of that car. There you see Kennan trying to get by, not enough room, nowhere for Melillo to go.
Cabry threw a massive block on Carson Hocevar entering turn number 3. They were 3 wide with Stallneck on older tires there. But a big moment right there as Cabry threw a block. Hocevar backed out of it. But boy, there's been some blocks thrown here into turn number 3, I must say.
These guys have been so aggressive, most notably on that back straightaway. It seems like turn 2 or entering turn 1 really isn't the problem. It's just entering turn 3. That back straightaway is so dangerous for guys looking to make passes. And again, these are differences in tires between all these drivers. Cabry on right now 13-lap tires. There's a 4-lap difference between himself and Carson Hocevar. And then Presley Sora, those guys trying to work their way through and get to the race lead, currently held by Elaine Sabile. And it has just felt like the aggression has turned up just because the strategy has put everyone on different sides of the ladder.
Eggert nearly made contact entering pit road with Steve Affont. As he was getting into the pit lane, you see he spins right there. He has some issues getting onto the pit lane, so Seth Eggert goes from bad to worse. He nearly got run over into the pit lane, barely missed contact with Steve Affont, and then spins on pit road entry. I think we're just asking for a wreck at this point, Jacob, or Kenneth. I don't know how much longer we can go, because it seems like every which way we go, we're spread out. We have a lot of differing strategies right now. But it just seems like something's got to give at some point with all that we're seeing around this Texas Motor Speedway.
And it's also felt like, Blake, that every time we cover a situation that develops, another situation develops. I think that tells you just how crazy things are getting here in Texas with the field so thinned out. You're going to have action. You're going to have those moments all over the racetrack at any given time as you run on board with Alex Abay, who's putting up a great fight so far and looking onto the rear end of the 17 of Adam Cabot. LeBay, who took the pole last week at the Daytona Road Course, could not really cap it off with a win, but the Canadian driver out of the NASCAR Xfinity Series in his rookie campaign, by the way, doing a fantastic job tonight.
He really is. As you can see right now, he's trying to take over that 5th position. He has caught Adam Cabot, has 2-lap fresher tires than that number 17 that runs directly in front of him, and Cabot is going to give way. So Alex LeBay up into the top 5. Now up front, you have Leighton Sabile. He pit about 4 laps before Presley Sora, Carson Hocevar, a couple of your race leaders. So Leighton Sabile, you can see right there a good view of the fresher tires that are starting to work towards him a little bit. They've made up some time each and every lap, about 3 or 4 tenths depending on which lap it was, but I think it's only going to be so much more time before Sora and Hocevar catch him at this point. Now, again, we're at this stage where Sabile might be helped out a little bit depending on when you want to come back down to the pit lane, and if he can gain some time, short pitting these guys a little bit.
And he definitely gained time on that first call for sure, because he was back in the top 5, top 4 at some point. earlier in the last run, and him underpitting is going to give him third, most likely here, just because Chase Cavery is so far behind, Alex Abey is so far behind, Adam Cabot so far behind. All of those guys, latter half of the top 10, and even some parts of the top 5, they're just so distant from your top 3 right now that even if Sabile loses out on this fight, which is sure to happen here with Sora and Hosovar rapidly approaching, and that should be the great battle for the race lead right now, as it looks like they'll go 3 wide into 1 and 2. The 98 slid up the track, hit the apron. The 42 is going to look under for the proverbial race lead, but Sabile undercutting on the first run has definitely helped him track position-wise, and you have to imagine he's going to pit earlier than these guys for sure on this second run because he has to, inside 50 laps to go. But Sabile building a momentous run, even if he gets that undercut.
Sabile right now trying to hold on over Carson Hocevar on lap 76 here in the Operation Christmas Child 300K. And again, we're proud to say that M&R will be donating $3,000. And of course, after today, fans can vote on the favorite scheme that they see right now. Currently, Sabile, the leading one of the ToughCoFlooring.com Chevrolet, but a lot of festive paint schemes out there that these drivers are running. You can vote for them at the link that is given in the Twitch chat right now. And caution on the speedway, so this will change everything. Just as Hocevar was going to take the race lead, Reed Wilson at the top of turn number 2 has contact with James Bickford, and the yellow flag is out. And right Bickford comes over the radio and he says, I don't deal with blocks like that.
You mentioned it, Blake, though, earlier in the run. Something had to give with the blocks, and I mentioned that the blocks never happened in turn 1. I guess I was completely wrong this time. Right on board with Bickford in the 29, who was just trying to make up the spot. He dives on the brakes. Wilson's in front of him. And for the second time tonight, Reed Wilson is around and in trouble on the racetrack, this time going into turn 1, and Bickford just gets into him on the rear end. And so tough for the 66 of Wilson, who was having such a phenomenal run up to this point. But what this does do, Jacob, is completely changes the game. Leaders on pit road.
Yeah, take any strategy that we talked about and throw that out a fifth-story window because that's all gone to waste. We've got about just inside 50 laps to go, and the fuel strategy is about 40 laps. So it's pretty simple. You're going to have to pit again, or you're going to need a lot of cautions. So far, out of the people that have come down on the pit road and have already left their box, 4 tires and fuel all the way around, David Schildhouse stays on the racetrack. He will take the lead on 18-lap older tires. Everybody else taking 4 and fuel down in the pit lane, Blake.
Oh, man, so Schildhouse, assuming he stays out here, is going to trap a number of cars from getting the wave around. Again, there are plenty of cars that are 1 lap down right now, so he's going to trap them a lap down. Again, assuming he stays out here. And Jacob, looking at the strategy, we saw these guys not quite able to go about 40 laps, so I don't know if you can make it to the end here, and if you do, you're going to have to save a lot. So is Schildhouse here thinking, and again, I'm just thinking out loud here, that maybe he's going to stay out for a couple of laps, pit when he knows he can get to the end, and then run it out instead of splitting this in half?
That's my guess, is that he's going to stay out, or he'll stay out and hope for a caution, and he won't throw away all of his track position. Right now, he's in first. Older tires, he's going to slip through the field a little bit, but if he's able to hang around like a top 15, top 20, and a caution were to come out in about 15, 20 laps, everybody's going to come to pit road. Schildhouse will as well. He may be right back where he was before, but it's a tough call, you know, because if we get a caution right away, that's not going to do Schildhouse any good because nobody's going to pit, I don't think. If we wait about 5-6 laps, you might be able to get to this point where we get a caution and enough people will pit. But especially if we have overtime, they will not be able to make it to the end no matter really how many cautions we have. They're going to have to save a lot under green or have a couple of yellows here and save under those yellows, since I think we're coming to 1 to green here, guys.
Oh boy, you can hear these cars from up here on our camera shots that they are clutching and trying to do everything they can to shut these engines off. So we will approach one to go, and we want to remind you that Interstate Batteries, they are built to top industry standards. Interstate Batteries has been the technician's choice for 9 years and counting. Powered by a distributor network of 300 wholesale warehouses and backed up by more than 150,000 dealers around the world, as well as 200 all-battery center franchise stores, Interstate seeks to deliver the most trustworthy source of power to the world every single day. Interstate Batteries, outrageously dependable and proud partner of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series, presented by Interstate Batteries. We're so glad you could be joining us here on a Monday night. Blake McCandless, Kenneth Bueno, and Jacob Hitz on the call for you here tonight. Ryan Bauer down in the virtual production trailer. 46 laps to go. It'll be 45 when we take the green flag for the Operation Christmas Child 300K live tonight at the Legacy version, the 2008 scan of the Texas Motor Speedway. David Schildhouse, Presley Sora, right now your top two. Leighton Sabile and Carson Hocevar right back there in that second lane. And we are going to delay the green right here very quickly. Some timing and scoring needing to sort out, or perhaps I think somebody needing to catch the tail end of the field. And maybe while we do that, we can get a word real quick in here with our Tough Go in-race reporter of the evening. Josh, you got us?
I got one clear. You got me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Josh. I know it's been a little bit of a tumultuous night for you here, but how are you enjoying running at Texas tonight?
Yeah, our race started really good. I think we started 13th to 14th, went to the top 10 pretty quickly, and we were involved in that first big wreck. So we hit the wall, went 3 wide, hit the wall, and we got some damage. So we're just kind of riding here.
Well, it looks like it, Josh. But kind of talk about running this Xfinity car at this old version of Texas. I know we're kind of changing versions here a little bit, but what do you remember most about running at this track and enjoying it?
Yeah, so honestly, I've never driven this old track. This is the first time I've ever driven this old track, so it's pretty cool. You know, this is actually one of my favorite mile and a halves. A lot of people have their own opinion about the track. But I think it's pretty fun. So it's pretty cool to experience this old track. It's awesome that iRacing allows us to do that.
All right, Josh, well, we're coming here this restart. We'll let you get back at it. Good luck. All right, we appreciate Josh catching up with us, and maybe we'll get to talk to him a time or so again. But the green flag is out. Schildhouse got an early jump on the field as we are set ourselves up for a 44-lap run to the finish.
Schildhouse going to get absolutely swallowed by the field out of turn 2. I saw Hocevar kick the car sideways. He's going to drop back a couple of spots. They're almost 3 wide. Entering turn 3, battle for the lead still on. Sora to the high side. Sabile going to use Schildhouse as a pick to get by. Chase Cabry and Presley Sora, your defending champion, back to the point from Texas.
Oh, and Chase Cabry looking to try to get around Schildhouse, but David is going to hold the bottom. Contact between Vargas and Hocevar as they get into turn number 1. So things getting contested here at the front of the field. Hocevar slips up. Here comes Alex Libay to the bottom. They are 3 wide. Hocevar in the middle of that bunch.
We'll see who backs out first. Remember, everybody, Blake, scrambling for that very inside lane. Cabot tried to make it outside 3 wide. He's paying the price at a turn 4 because there comes Preston Pardis. Raja Caruth, who started this race in an abysmal spot, dropping to 19th and starting on pole. He's now in this mix as well. Couple of rows deep, 2 wide for position, and Vargas slips by to 4th. Hocevar going to break free in the top 3 away by more than half a second.
And Schildhouse still trying to defend and run that bottom lane. Caruth goes to the bottom of the bay. They are 3 wide, back behind Schildhouse as Vargas and Hocevar slip away. Nearly coming to blows back there with Preston Pardis and Cabot, and they do. Cabot into the wall. He will spin around here in the tri-oval. Caution is out.
Couple of more cars in the grass. I believe I saw Devin Henry in there. Or he was coming out of pit road, but everybody else was scrambling to get by. And I was about to mention, Blake, picking and choosing your battles in the midst of the top 10 just because Schildhouse is on older tires. You have to find a way by that car that's way slower on the track. And then Cabot ultimately gets caught up at the worst end of it. Remember, he made it 3 wide on the outside a couple of laps ago, makes the slight contact with Pardis, and then sideways he goes and just catches the worst end of the racetrack. Blake, that little kink there on the quad oval section of the front straightaway, and Cabot goes around, picks it up, and this is just tough for the 17. My pick for tonight's race, I continue to suffer.
Well, and not only that, I think it gets worse, Jacob. I'm hearing that he may not have a fast repair left.
Correct. He already used his fast repair from an earlier incident. I think the big one we had on the back straightaway right around lap 15, or lap 14 rather. So that he's going to be stuck with that damage the rest of the way. Even though Josh Mendoza puts that incident cause down on internet and net code instead of actual contact. Right now, pit road's open. Not a lot of takers, not any takers.
Wow.
Front. David Schildhouse is the first guy to jump onto pit road. Nick Olson will join him on pit road. A couple more. Looks like, well, let's see here. Olson, as I mentioned, DJ Cummings, Ford Martin, all coming down onto pit road. Bailey Turner, Adam Cabot is back on pit road. And I thought at least when that last caution came out that Bailey Turner was saved. He was on the lead lap, able to get back into this deal. He's going to pit again, look for some fresh tires, and try and carve his way through the field, get himself back up to the front, and potentially into contention for this win, the outside pole sitter in the 5.
I gotta say, Kenneth, I'm surprised we didn't see more activity on pit road. I think saving those tire sets is really playing into these the minds of these drivers right now, but I'm a little shocked that David Schildhouse, the only one that came down, and I think in all intents and purposes we know drivers are saving fuel right there. You can see some drivers, Cabri being one of them, he's on the bottom right now. Caruth is as well, so is Hocevar. They're trying to save every ounce of fuel that they can. Why not pit and ensure that you can go to the end? It's a strange thing for these drivers, I guess.
I think it may be one of two probabilities. Number one, they're expecting a caution to come out later on in this race, just based on how things have picked up dramatically over this second half. That may be it, just so they may say, all right, we've got another yellow on tap. Maybe we'll stay out this time by. We'll hope for that caution. Then we'll decide what we do from there. But number two, I think it may come down to track position. We're inside 38 laps to go. If you pit now, you're going to lose spots for certain. And although these guys are forced into a hand where they have to save fuel, maybe they run out, there may be that problem. I think if they stay out this long, and then if another caution comes out or something happens in this race, at least they can say they have track position, which has been oh so vital in tonight's race. So it has to be either one of those two. The fact that cautions may come out later, they're hoping for that, or track position is just so important they don't want to give it up at this time.
See Adam Cabot right there. He is back on pit road right now, and you can see a fair amount of damage that he's having to repair because he does not have a fast repair for him to utilize right now. But we'd like to remind you that Next Level Racing is a proud partner for Monday Night Racing. Founded in 2009, Next Level Racing is the world's leading simulation brand, revolutionizing sim racing with its industry-leading product range. Visit nextlevelracing.com for more information. And by the way, I just got my Next Level Racing chair in the mail today. It arrived on the doorstep, so I am looking forward to assembling that chair. I've put a number of miles on this one, so I'm looking forward to that Next Level Racing chair. I think you guys are getting one too. I don't know if it's arrived yet, but maybe I got mine first. Who knows?
No, I haven't gotten mine yet, so I'm still waiting. I should probably be like blankly staring outside of my driveway, waiting for the mail truck to come around. It's probably too late for that to even happen, but I'm waiting for it. I can't wait for the day that all three of us have it together. We get to kind of flaunt it all together, and awesome that Next Level Racing is partnered this closely with Monday Night Racing. But I cannot wait for this restart, Blake, because this may be the most pivotal restart of the race, barring any cautions that come out or anything that may happen strategy-wise, with Sora, Sabile, Cabri, Vargas, everybody up here saving fuel, trying to make it to the end.
Well, again, and you have about 20th on back. That's kind of a part of this second round of strategies. Nick Olson, Justin Malillo, David Schildhouse, a number of others all elected to take fresh tires. So they'll have about 10 laps on the rest of the field, and they have to save fuel, the rest of the field does. Further on back, I don't think they really have to save that much, so we will see how it plays out. Presley Sora puts us back under the green flag with 36 laps to go. He will lead us down to turn 1. It's Sabile and Chase Cabry following in your top 3.
And a beautiful jump by Sora to get by ahead. A couple of car lengths. Cabry and Sabile still going at it. Looks like Hocevar is trying to pick his way through it. They're almost 3 wide. Look, LeBlanc's again set into turn 3, this time dealt to Alex LeBay. They both line up the track. They're 3 wide near the midfield around Gary Sexton, and Michael Fisher bringing the 41 of Stallneck in the mix as well. Hocevar has slipped into 3rd, and now it's just a matter of how these guys play the game by fuel saving, maybe in the middle of the corner on this run.
We'll see if they can do it. The worst spot to be if you want to save fuel is where Presley Sora is right now, leading this race again, but that would imply that we go green all the way to the end of this race. We'll see if that is able to play out as well. And just at the right time, Raja Caruth up to 6th, passes Ryan Vargas for 7th. So Caruth, after a long fall through the field, has had just as equally long of a climb, and he is back up to the front.
And this reminds me, Blake, of what happened, I think, a couple of weeks ago at Twin Ring Motegi, where things went off so poorly for him and was able to pick it up just with strategy alone. Actually, no, that might have been another race, but still, Caruth doing a great job here by picking things up to P6. And despite all of the problems that he suffered and being stuck on the high side, getting hit by Hocevar, sliding up the track, Caruth looking to build some solid points and maybe even be in contention to get a win. Caruth has a win with the Xfinity cars. I believe he has 2 in his M&R career, so this would be big for Caruth if he can get it done. And the whole field single file. Looks like Hocevar tried to look for 2nd, couldn't do it.
Single file up inside the top 10. The entire top 10 is single file, and even further on back, you have to go back to 13th. You have Michael Fisher right now on the outside. Started 39th, and he looked to be down and out of this thing earlier on after that initial crash, but has fought his way back. The unsponsored 96 Ford Mustang doing a nice job trying to recover. He's up to the 13th position side by side, right there with Gary Sexton, who runs in 12th. But everybody up front running right along the bottom, trying to save as much as they can. And by the way, knock knock, here comes David Schildhouse on those fresh tires, up to 15th since that restart.
Yeah, Schildhouse, the veteran, in a sandwich with 2 rookie drivers, Fisher and Joey Padgett, who have done a solid job to do some great things at the opening jump in a couple of races of Season 6, most notably Joey Padgett, who finished 4th last week, but Hocevar, or rather not Hocevar, Schildhouse is coming quickly here at this point, and it's going to matter significantly if he can have a green flag run and hold this to the end. But you just got to be very patient because there's so many drivers in front of him. You don't want to overextend and make a mistake.
See as he's able to do it. You can see Hocevar up there in the 2nd position. Oh, trouble off at turn 2, and there was contact, but somehow Joey Padgett, Gary Sexton, and David Schildhouse get out of it, but they don't further on back in the field. Caution is out, and that will change everything here with the fuel strategy. It looks like Michael Massey had an issue there, and oh no, further up the road, I think Joshua Slate tagged the apron and then got back up into the 69 of Joey Savagny and spun him out.
And we talked about, Blake, the issues that have arisen from drivers hitting the apron in the middle of the corner. They slide up, they lose all that momentum, and unfortunately for the 69 of Savagny, he was there at the worst possible time when Slate was moving up the track and could not contain enough slowage to get down to the track and avoid hitting that 69. Here's another look at it. You'll see Slate moving by on the inside, that black car entering turn 1, and then right here, slaps the apron, moves up the track in the apex, bam, into Savagny. There's nothing it can do, but here come the leaders onto pit road. It looks like Chase Cabry is going to stay out, though.
Here they come. Presley Sora will lead most of the field onto pit road. Raja Caruth, Robbie Lyons, they stay out, as well as Joey Padgett, Gary Sexton. They all pitted 20 laps ago. David Schildhouse stays out. He pitted 11 laps ago. That was under that last caution flag. Michael Fisher also stays out. He pitted 2 cautions ago. Bailey Turner, DJ Cummings, Justin Melillo, Gabe Wood, Ford Martin, Colin Fern, Adam Cabot, Jordan Buster, Devin Henry all stay out. Leighton Sabile just 7.5 seconds in the pit box for the driver of the 25. Looking at the call, fuel only for the driver of the 25. He'll win the race off pit road. Problem is, guys, he's going to restart 17th.
Oh man, so we have taken this race and just flipped it on its lid, as we have strategies galore, so much that we can hardly keep up with it. So you have, I think it's fair to say, Kenneth, what, about half the field that stayed out under this latest caution. You have about half that took fuel, and some of them tires, some of them don't have any sets left. And boy, is this going to shake everything up. By the way, look at our matchups. It's always interesting looking at these mid-race to see how they're playing out. But I don't know if there's any odds you can configure right now, because we are just all over the place in terms of strategy.
Oh, Lord. I remember last week at Daytona Road, I mentioned just how unpredictable the combo was. Just because the competition was so high, you're never guaranteed a race leader for at least a full lap, because at some point someone's going to make a move. Tonight has been the same in a different circumstance. It has always been a new race leader, a change for position, a strategy call, a caution coming out. So many factors have changed the tide of this race. And I also want to point out Leighton Sabile, who was the winner off of pit road, I believe might have gotten a penalty, or maybe he's just second guessing himself. He is coming down pit road and taking tires on his number 25 machine.
Wow, so he made the call for track position, and he sped on pit road. So tough there for Leighton Sabile. And again, a shout out to Grid Rival for making those odds for us. We would like to thank ProSeller 8 for their support of Monday Night Racing. To view the full line of products, including specially formulated gummies for gamers, you can visit ProSeller8.com today. Again, that is ProSeller8, all one word, and the number 8.com today. The field for you here, 26 laps to go. We'll have, when we take the green flag, you have Chase Cabry, Caruth, your top 2, and pretty much the entire field back to, let's call it 15th, 16th position, all stayed at Speedway. Chase Cabry, Raja Caruth lead your field to turn 1.
Great jump by Cabry, and now look at Schildhouse already going to work on Gary Sexton for 5th. Lyons going to send a block on the bottom of entrance, turn 3, back straightaway. That was on the 83 of Joey Padgett, and look how fast Schildhouse...
Oh, Jordan Buster into the wall in turn 3. He saves it, no caution. He was in the middle of a gaggle, and Jordan Buster saves the car. We still stay green. Oh, but Ford Martin gets spun. Presley Sora, Alex LeBay up into the outside wall. Sora comes back down the track and will collect Nick Olson in another large crash here at Texas. Brett Baldeck is involved as well. About 10 to 15 cars collected in a pile of smoke into turn number 1, and we are once again under the caution flag.
It was just a large stack up, and just like the big crash, Blake, that kicked us off for our first yellow on the back straightaway. As soon as one car goes around, when there's a hornet's nest, somebody else is going to get in it who tags somebody else. It's a big domino effect. And then as Garrett Smithley tapped to the rear end of the 07, sends him sideways. And then Presley Sora, arguably the biggest victim out of all of this, just gets tagged in at the worst time. He was on that strategy. Ryan Vargas, Alex LeBay, Nick Olson. Look at Steve Alfon, the 11. So many guys that could have had great races go their way at the end. Now torn apart with 23 laps to go.
Well, again, that's the problem with pitting, is that you kind of lose all of that track position, and this can sometimes be the end result. You see George Belfans Jr., who has been behind several laps most of the night because of that fast repair situation. He's now down and out, and, well, he was already 3 laps down into this one. Presley Sora involved, Ford Martin, which Sora should be okay. He should have a fast repair left because he was one of the few who were not involved in that caution flag that happened a little bit earlier on. But I gotta say, Kenneth, with the drivers that did pit that last time, didn't make up as much ground as I would have wanted on those first few laps of tires, I'd have to say.
Definitely not. I think the biggest mover out of the entire group was Carson Hocevar and Preston Pardus, moving their way to 12th and 13th on the racetrack. But it's been a slow move through the field, and that's going to matter significantly here. Now moving underneath 20 laps to go, the time is going to start to run out. And while, yes, you had that advantage, if you waste so much time, especially if yellows continue to come out, that advantage is going to slip away little by little. And at some point, if you're Hocevar, if you're Pardus, if you're any of those guys, that's going to be equalized from everybody up at the front who have decided to stay out. So that's going to be large. They don't want no more cautions. And also just the entire field, how hectic they've been all race long off of a restart. You don't want to be risky, and it forces them into a corner.
A lot going on here at the end of the race. Let's see if we can't maybe get a perspective of it once again from our Tough-Go in-race reporter in Joshua Balicki, the Wisconsin native, right now running in the 20th position. Josh, this is when these races kind of get crazy at the end. What's your approach here?
Yeah, so unfortunately I have damage, so my car isn't that fast in a straight line. So I'm just trying to survive here. But that was a pretty crazy wreck. I don't know if I show my in car, but that was pretty close for me too. So I just gotta keep doing what I'm doing, make it to the end, and hopefully we can have a top 10 here. Good points day for us.
Another thing I'm kind of curious about, do you have any tire sets left, or are they all gone, or is that proprietary information?
No, I'm gone. I hit to repair some damage, I think about 10 laps ago, and I accidentally forgot to click the tire change off. So
man,
I am gone. No more tires left.
All right, Josh, we'll let you get back to it. Thanks for taking the time to be our in-race reporter today.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that is Josh Balicki again. Glad to be joined by him and to see his perspective of things. So I think he's kind of in the same position, I would say, Kenneth, that a lot of drivers are in. They're out of tires. He's probably good on fuel. Granted that he pit at lap 97, and now we've had a lot of caution flags to kind of even things out and allow these guys to save some fuel. But we're just at that point. These M&R races, when we get in the last 20 laps, these late yellows can just get absolutely crazy, and we'll see how these drivers can handle it.
Yeah, it's been so tough, and when everybody's packed in together, you bring in those blocks, you bring in those huge sends just because they feel like there's no other way around it. And this somewhat reminds me of Twin Ring Motegi a couple of weeks back when you have a single groove racetrack. Everybody wants to fight for the bottom. You've got strategy in the mix as well. Right off the restarts, everyone's going to try their hardest to find space under a driver, to dive deep on the brakes underneath another driver. When you get that desperation, now within 20 laps to go, you're only making the franticness even worse. Well, this is when those cautions keep flying, and that's probably going to help these guys up at the front. They continue to save fuel, they continue to hang out and just be like, yeah, maybe you guys keep crashing, it'll help our strategy a little better, give us some more comfort for the end of this race. But at this point, you can never count out anybody, even if the likes of Hocevar, Pardus, all those guys who pitted not too long ago.
We will see how it shakes out. You still have the same top two that we left you with after that last restart. Chase Cabry, Raja Caruth, Robbie Lyons, and David Schildhouse, your top four. Reminder, Schildhouse has fresher tires than those around him who last pit on lap 77. Green flag back out. 19 laps to go here at Texas.
We got word from Josh Mendoza, race control. He said, find your cool heads and think level-headed. He wants the field to stay clean and green for the end of this one. They're still blocking, though. Third on back. That's Robbie Lyons trying to force Shieldhouse out of the way. It looks like Shieldhouse is going to be able to keep himself there out of turn 4. Joey Patchett, the rookie driver, still showing out in only his 4th M&R start in Season 6. Look at the crossover right. Shieldhouse for 3rd into turn 1.
Shieldhouse will go down to the bottom of the racetrack, has a slight tire advantage. He's going to try to use it here, and he's going to be able to do so successfully. Makes the pass on Lyons for 2nd. Further on back of the pack, you have Carson Hocevar, who has the freshest tires of anybody up in the top 10. He's running the middle and making it work for him as he goes by Bailey Turner, Gary Sexton. So Hocevar up into about the 8th position. Freshest tires in the field. That 42 is making moves quickly.
Again, it's about picking and choosing your battles. Hocevar in 1 and 2 could have easily gone around Fisher, but decides to hang back, wait for the exit of turn 2. Now he finds his way underneath the 96 for 7th. By the way, Colin Ferd kicked the right rear out completely sideways at a turn 4. That last lap, caution flag is out. There's a crash near the rear of the field.
Huge!
And I believe George Belfans Jr. and multiple others involved. It looks like Brandon Brown, Will Rogers in the mess.
It looks like contact between that 69 car, Steve Affont, George Belfans Jr. They were about 4 wide there on the back straightaway. Will Rogers, oh man, a vicious crash for him. Brandon Brown gets involved in it. Again, they were battling back here for about, well, nobody was really battling anybody because they were all several laps down. I think the furthest up car was 32nd or so.
Olsen, I think, was the highest up out of all that. He was just inside the top 30, I think, or maybe just outside of it. And, yeah. And Olsen got sent back there. He made contact 3 wide with Ryan Vargas. And that kind of dropped him through the field. And Vargas said, I hope you don't blame that one on me. And that was obviously before this big old wreck back here in the back of the field. But this may be the most destructive wreck we've had today. Is we got some guys coming to pit road. Cabri, Rajat Caruth. Pit stops for some guys that were up here at the front of the field. Robbie Lyons, Bailey Turner again. This one surprises me a little bit because these guys had fresh tires and good track position. Instead, they're going to go for even fresher tires. And this is going to drop them back through the field. 22 cars stayed out on the racetrack. So Chase Cabri wins the race off pit road. He's going to restart in the 23rd position. They're going to have roughly 10-11 laps to go to get to the front of the field.
I got to say, that is a puzzling decision right there. There's so much track position that you've lost, but again, the longer we go, the more tires seem to matter, Kenneth. So I don't know. It's a tough ask to put yourself in about 20th with what might be about 12 laps to go. Granted, that may not all be under the green flag. So, man, that's a big strategy call right there. But I think the biggest thing, especially if you're Cabri, he already has a win. He's locked into the playoffs. He knows he's only out here fighting for wins. So for him, I understand the call. For Raja, a little bit different, that maybe you're aiming for some points or so, but nevertheless, he's going for the, I didn't think I could win if I stayed out, and so I'm going to come down and pit.
It's a risky call, but at the same time, it's a risk probably worth taking, because if you don't take that set, you're probably going to be destroyed by the field at some point. Shieldhouse was catching up, Padgett, Fern, Hocevar, all of those guys are going to be there at some point. And then you have, with the amount of laps left that we're going to get when we get this restart, maybe 13, 12 laps to go, timing is going to be of the essence, and saving and risking losing fuel pressure and all that could compound into it. I think this call was maybe necessary. They backed themselves behind to the wall, and they just have no other choice. So for Cabri, like you said, he's locked into a win. Whatever happens tonight won't matter in the grand scheme of things because he's going to be in the playoffs. Caruth, though, this is going to be the bigger story just because of how many points he's going to lose. If he doesn't get enough points, if he doesn't get enough spots, that's if we stay green, multiple restarts happen. You never know, but it's just a tough call that you have to make. And that makes everybody that pitted earlier, Hocevar, Sora, all of those guys, it makes them look so much better just because they had the upper hand on that, and with the cautions that have flown up to this point, it has given them so much leeway.
It really has. And again, this is why these races are so crazy. And again, they're fighting for a lock into the Season 6 playoffs. And this is kind of one of those races where with all this strategy that's going on that we could really see not a surprise winner, but there could be an opportunity here for somebody who's maybe a little bit outside of the points right now to try and lock their way in through a little bit of strategy. It'll be interesting to see, and it's a complete difference than what we saw here in Season 5. At the end, we had one caution. It went green. It was a complete long run show, completely different than kind of what we've seen the last half of this race. Corey Heim won it easily. He is not here tonight. Neither is Anthony Alfredo, who, by the way, I was just reading on Twitter, said, looks like no Monday Night Racing tonight for me due to some strange connection issue. One of my favorite car and track combos, too. So, Anthony, we feel for you. We wish you were out here racing with us, but hopefully everything will be okay when you get back here next week. So, Shieldhouse on the freshest tires of the top three. Then you have Hocevar, who pit on lap 97, and Shieldhouse didn't go. They jumped the restart. Paget completely jumped the restart. Shieldhouse got driven through. Here comes Hocevar.
There goes Balicki. They're crashing, hard crash to the inside. Max Cannon, Josh Balicki. Couple of cars smoking the tires, trying to avoid a horrible, rotten, no good restart up at the front of the field. David Shieldhouse did not get going. Everybody ran him over, and in the end of it, it's Josh Balicki who takes a hard crash to the inside wall with Max Kennan.
And I'll tell you what, so Paget is on the outside. And I'll tell you what, he didn't really have much of a choice. He got a little bit of a bump there. That's a tough hit there for Josh, who we were just speaking to a little bit earlier on in the night. Caution flag comes out. But, man, it's hard. I do not envy Josh Mendoza on this restart, which will likely be reviewed, because Paget went early, but he had a significant amount of help that Hocevar kind of hit him and kind of pushed him to go. Shieldhouse was going to hold his ground, and he basically stacked up the whole inside line as they reacted to the outside going. So I do not envy the position of race control to try to sort all that out. And even where everybody runs at this restart, because you got to think, if everything stands, Paget right now, according to timing and scoring, is your race leader.
That's true. He's going to have control of the restart. And what I mentioned there, I mean, such a confusing restart that happened there, just because, like you said, with Paget getting the shot from Hocevar, it felt like he was maybe pressured to go just because he was going to get ran to the rear end by Hocevar because he wanted to go. And then as Shieldhouse was trying to react to whatever was happening at the top, Colin Fern gives him a shot at the rear end. Preston Pardis does the same. He checked up at first, the 42 did, and then got into Fern, sandwiched the whole bottom groove, and then just shuffled Shieldhouse out of line. Just a weird restart for everybody involved. Nobody really knowing what to do. They're all trying to predict each other, and it just creates a kerfuffle of cars all over the track and just results in that crash. Luckily, it didn't go further than turn one, because it maybe could have resulted in something drastic in your top three. But Joey Paget in the race lead, that's going to be large. What's even going to be bigger here, Carson Hocevar, one of the best cars and on the fresher set of tires by 20 laps on the outside row one.
So I think we're getting a call here, Jacob. I didn't exactly hear what race control is saying there, but do you have an update for us?
David Shieldhouse is angry, plain and simple. Josh Mendoza came over the radio and said he's reviewing the incident, and he says he's not going to reset the order or anything. He's not going to move people around, and he says what's likely going to happen is they're going to see some penalties for people on the inside line, and the outside line was good. And David Shieldhouse is hopping mad right now, saying, I control the restart. Joey Paget went before me. There should be a black flag for the guy on the outside. Josh Mendoza has not responded yet, and we'll see what happens. But David Shieldhouse filled with rage right now inside that 20 machine. Even with the dinged up hand, he is still very, very passionate and thinks that maybe he should be the leader. Don't think that'll happen, but he thinks that the leader right now, Joey Paget, should be at the tail end of the field.
David Schildhouse is hot, and it's not just his right hand right now, as he's continuing alongside with some other drivers to kind of voice their concerns right now. Again, a lot of review still going on. Nothing is official yet, but meanwhile, we continue to run some laps under the caution flag. That's going to hurt the drivers that came down in pit and wanted those fresh tires. Raja Caruth, Robbie Lyons, a couple of others that had those fresh tires. This isn't going to help their situation at all. You see Chase Cabry, who was all the way back here. He was able to make it up to the 18th position before he was slowed down by the yellow flag. And we got the one to go, and that has been waved off. So still trying to figure out this situation right here. And of course, everybody is upset, whatnot. We're trying to sort it out. But right now, as it stands unofficially, Paget and Hocevar would be on your front row. Then Schildhouse, DJ Cummings, and Garrett Smithley, your top 5. And I think we'll let these things sort out, and we will be right back after this break. So the Operation Christmas Child 300K not finished here at Texas. We'll be right back and try to let things sort out here under caution.
I ain't tryna bring you down, but for real, you might as well give up now. Think you got a chance, but I don't see how. Got a real tight grip when I hold that crown. My life been good and bad and all around. The more things I lost, the more I found. Everybody wanna be like us, we don't stop, cause the top just ain't enough. I'm the first one in and the last one out. Whoever owns the place gotta drag me out. Came here ready to fight on this night, you better just run for your life.
Well, a lot has happened under this latest caution flag. As we went away on break, you can see the 42 car no longer at the front of the field. He was given a black flag penalty put at the end of the longest line, and in protest, put on the binders under caution, made contact with the 44 of Brett Baldeck, and was immediately removed from the race from race control. We will see it once again here as they are pacing around double file. There is the call when Hocevar got the penalty, and rather than pulling over, he stops in the middle of the racing line, gets run into, and was immediately removed from the race.
He got hit twice. He got hit by Brett Baldeck, and this is the onboard, this is Brett Baldeck here. Baldeck was the one that drop kicked him, and Josh Mendoza, speediest fingers known to mankind, kicks him right here. Like, Baldeck hits him, and immediately Hocevar is tossed out of this race. It's so disappointing because Hocevar had the speed to win tonight, made the mistake on the restart, and then makes a mistake right there instead of dropping to the back like he was supposed to, just parking it right in the front straightaway, and Josh Mendoza's not taking any of it and gives him the old heave-ho.
Wow. So, a lot of drama here unfolding in a late race restart here at Texas. I believe we have it sorted out, and the field is going to come around to green. This is how the field will restart. Joey Paget was not black flagged as he was pushed through the restart zone when it was determined that Hocevar jumped the start, so he will start as the control car for this restart. 5 laps to go. Green flag in the air here at Texas. Paget, Cummings, Schildhouse, Fern, your top 4.
And now with Hocevar out of this race, it opens the door for guys like DJ Cummings, who now slips into second. Looks like Schildhouse trying to fight back on the bottom. Colin Fern, the last one there, inside your top 4. He's going to look to the inside. They're blocking. That's Brett Baldeck. Going to let everybody by in return 3. But Joey Paget, the rookie, looking to lead the field to 4 laps to go.
Trying to hold the race lead as Showhouse trying to make up some ground. He has a run down the front straightaway. Couple laps to go. He will poke to the outside. Oh, he thought about it for a second. He'll cut back and try to make a move on the inside. But I tell you what, Colin Fern, he looks awfully good in that 86.
We haven't seen much of Fern all throughout much of tonight's race. He was just hanging around the midfield. Now is the time to strike. He looks underneath Shieldhouse, entering turn 3 against the door shut. Couldn't make anything of it. Paget looking for 3 laps to go from Texas Motor Speedway, but he's got everybody knocking on the door behind him.
David Shieldhouse about a half car length back, heading into turn number 1. 3 laps to go here in the Operation Christmas Child 300K. Shieldhouse cannot get away from Colin Fern, who is all over his back bumper, and he may look low into 3. Shieldhouse throws the block.
If you're Paget, though, you desperately want this to happen. You want Fern to put it up to Shieldhouse. You want them to start battling. You want Cummings to make it a 3-way fight just so you can pull away. If you can hold on for these 2 last laps, unless a caution comes out, it'll be Paget's first M&R win. But Shieldhouse, Fern, and everybody else looking to fight amongst themselves back to turn 1.
Paget doing all he can on 9-lap older tires than what is on that number 20 Alpha Prime Chevrolet. Run down the back straightaway and momentum into 3 and 4 for Shieldhouse. They'll come around, they'll see the white flag, this time by out of turn 4. Paget scrapes the apron, so does Shieldhouse.
And this is going to open the door for Fern. They're going to block all the way to the entrance of turn 1 on the bottom. Paget may get sent into the first corner. He doesn't, but he slides up high. Shieldhouse looking for the apex. He may give the bumper out of turn 2 to the back straightaway for the final time.
Oh, and Shieldhouse is going to have to make something happen here. Paget looking to block low. Shieldhouse to the bottom. They're both to the bottom. Paget slides up the racetrack. Here comes David Shieldhouse on the bottom of turn 4. Side by side to the line. And the hot hand goes to David Shieldhouse. He wins at Texas. What a race.
Unbelievable. David Shieldhouse's first win in M&R, Blake, was with the Xfinity car at Daytona a couple of seasons back. His most recent with the Xfinity car at Texas in a stunning end of the race. And Shieldhouse, who we questioned on the strategy almost all race long, especially in that last half, clutches it up, and Paget falls short for the 2nd straight week in a row.
What a finish right there. Paget made his only mistake in those last couple of laps in 3 and 4. He played it perfectly. Shieldhouse, I mean, basically almost just dumped the air off the back end of that race car, got him a little loose, and Shieldhouse was able to pounce, get to the bottom. We know how strong that lane has been all night long. A textbook move, and David Shieldhouse times it out right and wins the Operation Christmas Child 300K. This is one more look at it.
And I had it in my mind, Blake, about sliding up the racetrack when you're pushing this car so hard. And talking with Gary Sexton in the M&R chat, you know, before this race started, he said the set can either get tight or loose depending on how you drive it. And right there, looks like Paget slides up a little too far. Shieldhouse finds the space. Fern obviously a little too far behind to make anything happen, but Shieldhouse, right moment, right time, strikes, and Shieldhouse with his 6th career M&R win.
And that win, just like he did last year early on in the season, will lock him into the playoffs for the Season 6 championship here in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series, presented by Interstate Batteries. We'll be right back here from Texas to hear from our winner and some others. Don't go anywhere. We have post-race coverage of the Operation Christmas Child 300K right after this.
And when those lids come off those boxes, you've never seen such pure joy.
This is amazing. As you can see, the children's faces, they're excited as they open up the gifts for the first time.
What makes the gifts more than just gifts is the message that comes with the gift.
This is the opportunity for a child to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ.
The mission of Operation Christmas Child never changes. Children are coming to Jesus, and children are taking the gospel to the ends of the earth.
Millions of children around the world are being impacted by these simple shoebox gifts. One box can touch not just a child, but your whole family. So we need to keep packing those boxes and pray for the children that God will use this in a very special way. So thank you for being a part of it. God bless you.
Visit our website at toughgoflooring.com.
This is an Interstate battery. More pros trust this than any other out there. Yeah, more pros. More. Even more pros. Keep going, Moss. Look, we're gonna run out of time before we run out of pros who like Interstate. I mean, we'll run out of time before we even run out of left-handed pros who knit. These pros are everywhere, which means so is this battery. Right around the corner, up the street, everywhere. Interstate batteries, outrageously dependable.
Get the edge on your competition with P8 Performance Gummies. Formulated specifically for gamers and the esports industry, we packed our gummies with all the good stuff, including ingredients that are clinically proven to help tired eyes, improve reaction times, and help suppress computer vision syndrome. Take your focus and endurance to the next level and try P8 Gummies today. Now available at Procelerate.com. Plus, if you're mad about gaming, we're looking to partner with influencers just like you. Drop us a line at support at Procelerate.com to see if you qualify to try our gummies for free. It's officially game on with all new P8 gummies.
Back with you here live from the Texas Motor Speedway. The Operation Christmas Child 300K has finished, and this is how the results look. All unofficial right now at the moment, but David Schildhouse appears to be your winner here tonight at the Texas Motor Speedway. Joey Padgett in second, Colin Fern in third, DJ Cummings, a great run for DJ in fourth, Garrett Smithley fifth, Matt Stallneck, Presley Sora, Alex LeBay, Leighton Sabile, and Connor Berry recovers late to round out your top 10.
Ryan Vargas in the 26 machine comes home P11. It's 12th for Chase Cabry, 13th for Raja Caruth, both of them on the same strategy. Had the freshest tires, just did not have enough time to get back to the front. Ronnie Osmer in the 55 completes a top 15 with after starting 28th. Preston Pardis is inside top 15. He'll be 15th proper. Michael Fisher will be 16th. It'll be 17th at the start-finish line for James Bickford in the 29. Gabe Wood comes home 18th after starting 26. Bailey Turner, who had suffered a crash that did not bring out a caution on the back straightaway earlier tonight, picks it back up to 19th. And Steven Ellis in the 46 rounds out the top 20.
21st was Robbie Lyons. Nick Olson finishes in 22nd. Gary Sexton was 23rd. Adam Cabot brought it home 24th. Reed Wilson was 25th. Justin Melillo finished in 26th. 27th was Ford Martin. Jordan Buster finished 28th. 29th, Steve Affont. And Seth Eggert was 30th.
31st goes to the 21 of Max Kennan. Brandon Brown coming home 32nd as the last driver on the lead lap. First drivers one lap down include Brett Baldeck in 33rd, 34th, Devin Henry, and then 35th to Joey Savage in the number 69, 2 laps down for him. Mark Rubilis ends up 36, 3 laps down. It'll be 7 laps down. Hocevar was removed from the race in the last leg. 37th he will finish. Josh Bilicki comes home 38th. Will Rogers comes home 39th. Rounding out your top 40 will be George Balfant Jr. in the number 94. And the final 3 drivers listed in our field: Michael Massey, 41st, 42nd to Josh Slate, and Anthony Alfredo, who suffered internet connectivity issues all race long. Made a couple of laps on the track, then fell out. He is 43rd and dead last from Texas.
That rounds out your field, and we are going to talk to the happiest one of them all as we pull in David Schildhouse, your winner tonight here at the Texas Motor Speedway. He's got the hot hand right now, doesn't he? And David, just talk us through everything right now with how that race ended, the restart, everything that's going through your mind, and then how do you regroup and still end up as the race winner?
That's Monday Night Racing, baby. I don't know what else to say. That's an all-time classic right there. And Jacob Hitz can tell you this because he's got the DM. I told him just before we got into the practice session. I told him, and you'll have to excuse my language. I told him, I'm just gonna go win this sumbitch, and by golly, I won it. Burned hand and all. Classic battle. Shout out to Joey Padgett. This dude's going to win a lot of races in this league. He's so fast, and I'm glad that we had a good, clean battle. Shout out to Colin Fern for the good battle there at the end as well. Just unbelievable circumstances, crazy pit strategies. I wanted to be in a position to win it, and now we're going to the playoffs. 4 races in. Feels good to get that done. I'm tickled to death, man. I can't even feel this hand right now.
Well, that's good. I guess you don't need it much if you can literally beat them all with one hand tied behind your back. But, David, congratulations, and once again, locking your spot into the Season 6 playoffs. Well done. And, can't really say much else, but what a finish, and congratulations.
That was the most Monday Night Racing race, I think, of all time. I don't know what it looked like from your end, but from my seat, really exciting. Just really happy to put Market Rebellion in victory lane. So shout out to them, Alpha Prime Racing, Capital City Haulers, Ryan Pastana for the paint scheme, and everybody at twitch.tv/Shieldhouse. The children were losing their gosh dang mind tonight. It was heckin' exciting. A big thank you to Next Level Racing for the sim rig, and Thrustmaster for this equipment that I get to use, and just everybody that supports what we do here on the 20 car, man. It feels good to be locked in with the other guys already. Now we can just put it to them for the rest of the regular season. We got a lot of really cool, fun things planned, and I'm looking forward to bringing to the track. But that 20 is going to be a problem for everybody every week. I promise you that, Blake. We're coming for them. It's not going to be just win and be in. We are getting multiple wins. We are going to make their lives miserable.
All right, David, we'll look forward to it as David Shieldhouse, your winner tonight at the Texas Motor Speedway, once again locks himself in early to the Monday Night Racing playoffs here in Season 6 as he will try to win his first championship later on this year. Somebody came up very close and looked to have it won, though, into turn number 3. Kenneth Bueno, you've caught up with Joey Padgett.
Yeah, Joey Padgett in the 83 comes home second, just short of the win. But Joey, just walk us through what happened there. I know you got the lead on a frantic restart where everybody was shuffling around at turn 1. Got the lead, controlled the restart in the last 4 laps. Just what happened there behind the wheel?
Yeah, no, we saved tires the whole race there. Pretty much ran like that 20th, 30th, just trying to get the most out of each run. And then the yellows weren't really helping us out. But we were like, all right, so I know how much I can save. And we were like comparing, me and Reed were comparing tires. He was going a little bit harder. And I was like, if we can save a little bit and have a 5-lap run and everyone pits, we're definitely just going to take track position. And that's what mattered. And yeah, pulled out to about a car length lead. And I knew Fieldhouse had about 3 laps fresher tires than I did, so it was going to be pretty hard to hold them off. But we were close. Another race back to back, leading about 5 seconds before the line.
I know it was definitely close, but one thing that you've shown us so far, you are on the doorstep of that first career M&R victory. It's going to break through at some point. Joey, first of all, thank you for taking some time to talk with us here on Podium Esports. Congratulations on the 2nd place finish, and we'll see you 1 week from tonight at IndyCar with Indianapolis on the combo.
Absolutely. See y'all next week.
That's Joey Padgett in the 83 again, coming up just short of the race win, but we know just how strong he's been as a rookie driver in Season 6. That win may be coming sooner than later. So we'll talk to the driver who comes home actually in P4. Huge storyline, Jacob Hitz, for the driver in the 10, DJ Cummings.
Well, and we'll talk with Colin Fern in the front stretch post-race show, but DJ Cummings coming home with the top 5 tonight, coming home in 4th, and I heard you say over the radio, I don't know how I got here. So take us through your night picking up 20-some spots to get to the front.
25 spots to be exact. I'll call that a victory. It had a pretty putrid qualifying effort. But I'll put that to no practice. But I'll take it back to about lap, I guess that caution we had around lap 98. We had just pitted about 10 laps ago, and this track, we've noticed it was pretty tough to pass. So Mr. Teammate and league owner Ford Martin and myself were like, let's throw a Hail Mary. Let's see if we can pit here a little early, and banking that we would get a long run and we would pass all of these guys. Maybe we would get a top 10 and call it a win. Lo and behold, we get caution after caution after caution, and I was just continuing just like 1 lap on my tire, 1 lap on my tire, 2 laps, 5 laps. So overall, my tires were still in pretty good shape by the end of it. And all the other guys that were in front of me were obviously on older tires, so they had to obviously come down a little bit earlier. I was like, I have no tires left. I'm gonna stay out and see how it plays out. And I was very content with the final restart. I'll take a top 5 any day of the week after starting almost shotgun the field.
Well, congratulations on the top 5, DJ, and we'll see you next week from Indianapolis with the IndyCars. Congratulations.
10-4, looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
DJ. Go Pack.
DJ Cummings. That's that's P4. Blake.
All right, I saw DJ at a Wolfpack game randomly about 2 weeks ago, so that was just a little hint right there. I'm sure he was happy after Friday's win against the North Carolina Tar Heels. But, well, guys, we talked about this combo and how fun it was going to be for these drivers. I don't think we could have anticipated how much drama there was, but it did not disappoint. And yet at the end of it all, we still have a very familiar face up at the front of the field, and David Schildhouse, your winner tonight.
Yeah, of course, the veteran driver always coming out on top. With the situation that he had with his hand all burned up and everything, still could find a way to get to victory lane. And what's crazy about tonight's race from Texas is that I feel like out of most of the races, if not all of them on the schedule, this combo was probably going to be the most predictable for everybody. We're expecting long green flag runs, expecting strategy, expecting all that from last season. And yet we got a completely different plate. We had so many different strategies converging together, a lot of big crashes, a lot of cautions, and then those late race restarts where Joey Padgett unfortunately comes short of David Schildhouse. And you have to give props to Padgett as a rookie driver. So close, so many times in the first 4 races of this season. Have to imagine that first one is coming very soon. But from Texas, Schildhouse to victory lane in a great storyline. Can't get better than that.
A great storyline out of this week and into next one, Jacob. IndyCars at Indianapolis. Very special combo for this league that's been run before. Bob Jenkins being on the call and Alan Bestwick of another couple races that Monday Night Racing has done there. So a very special combo for everyone involved. And again, that's about as fast as you can go and a very special place to win even here on iRacing.
And it's been so long since Monday Night Racing has returned to this combination. One of the biggest that this league has ever done, and I cannot wait for next week. It's going to be so much fun with the IndyCars. IndyCar at Auto Club, I thought was one of the best races last season. I really can't wait for the IndyCars to come back, especially at Indianapolis. So much history, so much prestige. It's going to be a lot of fun next week, and hopefully we get to bring back radio style a little bit. I guess we'll see when that happens. But I just want to point out in my notes, I circled it. David Schildhouse, I'm going to win this thing. I wrote it down just in case. I proof that he told me he was going to win this thing. Called a shot, and sure enough, took it home. Did it.
Well, you didn't pick him, so you didn't believe him, is what I'm hearing.
Okay.
Well,
he does have the receipts, though. I'm not gonna lie.
To be fair. When we go to Auto Club in a couple of weeks in the 87s, David Schildhouse could be somebody that I finally bite on picking. We've got a long way to go. And might I remind you, somehow I still won picks this week with Ryan Vargas. He finished 11th. Blake's pick and Raja finished 13th. Eric and Kenneth, sorry about your luck. You guys are slipping behind a little bit. It's coming a 2-horse race.
I swear about every single pick I've had has finished right there, like 13th. Never in the top 10, but never all the way in the back. So we're just kind of stuck in this rut right now. But again, thank you all for joining us. But we are not done yet, as we will hand off continuing post-race coverage of the Operation Christmas Child 300K to Brandon Hoff for the Front Stretch post-race show.
Thanks, Blake. Hey guys, welcome back. As you guys just watched, that was insane, to say the least. I am here. I'm Brandon Hoff. That is Michael Massey. We are back for another week of a Front Stretch post-race show from Monday Night Racing. How we doing tonight, Mike?
I'm doing pretty good, considering I got taken out in 2 brutal wrecks. I'll have to show you the picture from what happened, but basically both instances, the track was completely blocked, and I had nowhere to go. But No, it was a fun race. The long stretch there at the start was a lot of fun, where we had some green flag pit stops. I overshot. I was running decent. I was at the back of the pack, but I was only lap. It wasn't in eighth or second lap. But then I overshot my pit box on that stop, on that green flag stop, and fell way back. But it didn't matter because I got caught up in all these wrecks anyways, even when I was in the free pass position. And yeah, that. I think there are people more upset than I was tonight.
Yeah,
That's safe to
yeah.
say.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about here. I think we'll start with the I think main topic of conversation right now, or at least in the last 20 minutes that have people have been talking about the controversy on the I believe it was the last restart. Yeah, it was the last restart between Carson Hocevar and I guess I'll say the field and the restart. Um, I know from my point of view, what I saw, it was very tricky to call just because the way everybody was stacking up and the way that Joey was getting pushed by Carson, and then I guess whoever was in seventh hit fifth, who then hit third, who then hit David. I don't know. It was a whole mess. But I and then Carson does what he does and stops, and then Brett drills him. I mean, there's just so much to talk about here. But what do you think, Mike? I know you had to sit out the last little bit, so you were watching.
So I'll confess, because at that point I was dealing with repairs on pit road and all that, trying to see if I could get back in it. Uh, so I didn't see the host of our event live, but I was in the Discord with Brett Baldeck, and based off his reaction, based off how mad he seemed, it seemed like whatever host of our did must have been awful.
Yeah.
I understand he just parked it in the middle of the track after he got an EOL, and I mean that's 2 weeks. That's one of those things on its own. It wouldn't be that big of a deal, but the fact is, 2 weeks in a row he's caused an issue up at the front of the pack. I don't, and to go along with the Truck Series stuff that he's done too. I know we're not NASCAR, we're a different thing, but it's a bad look for him. He seems like a nice guy, but he's just gotta mature, gotta clear up some of these things.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would, that's what I would say about it. I mean, that's really all you can say about it. I mean, I'm not going to bash him or anything. He's a talented driver. I mean, we all know that. He's got the talent. He's shown it in real life. He's been up front in the sim. I mean, we've seen it. Not just, tonight, last week too, even when he was a lap down and racing everybody, he was fast enough to stay up there. And then even in previous races, I know personally on the sim, he's always up front in any race he does. So he's got a lot of talent. It's a matter of trying to clean it up and maturing. And he's 19, I think. So he's 19 or 20, something like that. So he will get better in time. It's just a matter of, you can't do that. And the way he stopped, and you just can't do that, especially at the time of race that it was. And I feel bad for Brett, and everybody's dodging him, and it's just one of those deals that could have been avoided. And sadly, it added a few extra caution laps near the end of the race. I know a lot of people weren't happy about that. But, it happens. But I think we got a few points we want to talk about before we bring on our guest tonight. We'll just talk a little bit about it. But tonight was basically the first race of the season out of 4 where we had a normal track car combo on an intermediate. It was the Xfinity car at Texas, Old Texas, as we mentioned last week. As we said, I thought it was a good race. For the most part, everybody was pretty clean up until about lap 80. It looked like fuel was going to come into play. Tires were coming into play. From your vantage point, Mike, I know, unfortunately, like I said, it ended early for you, but what was it like out there? You had the fuel come into play with about 45 to go there and all that. So,
well, it was fun until it turned into a wreck fest at the end. But before that, I really enjoyed it because tires mattered. How much you took care of your tires. Like when I had my pit stop, I was out there just blowing by people that I don't usually pass. But then, they came and got their tires, and all of a sudden, I'm just like, it's like I got an anchor attached to me. So the races like that are always a good time. But yeah, I actually we've got the updated point standings, and after another runner-up finish, Joey Paget is your points leader, with Adam Cabot and Presley Sora trailing by just 1 point. So
Not
it is
surprising.
a tight battle for that regular season title.
Yeah. This is going to be the tightest points battle I think we've seen in M&R so far, just because of the competition. I mean, look at Joey, too. I mean, Joey's had such a good start to the year. He told us last week he's going to win a race, and he literally came one corner short of winning.
It's not a matter of if.
It's
matter of
when.
when.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. But we did have a guy who did win the race, right?
Yeah.
We should probably bring him on. The old injured guy himself.
Yeah, Mr. Injured here.
I'm here. Had a brutal injury earlier in the day, overcame it, and here's the man, David Schildhouse, the race winner. Congrats.
Congrats, David, with the hand injury there.
I thought it might have been a career ender. Thankfully, it wasn't.
Just describe to us, like, just the race. What did you go through tonight? I mean, we saw the restart near the end, and then middle of the race, you're having a decent race, and then the tire strategy and everything just kind of seems whack. So just take us through everything tonight and what you went through.
Whack is a pretty good way to describe it. We junked 75% of the field on lap 16 on the backstretch. So I had to take my quick repair, and I knew that it was going to be an uphill battle. And at some point, I was going to have to do something to sort of flip the field position and make a strategy call, make a judgment call on what I thought would happen. The long green flag run didn't surprise me. I sort of expected that. And then, we got the yellow. We pitted, short run. And then I stayed out. And that was the turning point of the whole race. I decided to stay out on probably, 15 lap old tires, something like that. And it was a big decision because everyone behind me was on freshies and I knew I was going to be swallowed up. I was just hoping for like a 10, 15 lap run that was going to drag everybody back down pit road. But it was a little bit shorter run. I came down, took my third set of tires, and I said, we need this thing to go green to the end. It didn't. As y'all saw, it didn't go green to the end. But the caution sort of fell our way, and we just kept surviving. And then we had the controversy at the end. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. What happened from your point of view on that whole deal?
Carson fired before anybody else in the whole field and pushed Joey past me. I was third or fourth by the time we got to the line. Obviously, you can't have that. I understand everyone's trying to get the best jump they can, but Carson had the best tires out of everybody up there. He really didn't need to do that or try and game the system at all. So I'm not really sure why he did that. He just ended up screwing himself. And with him out of the way, that was like the best thing for all of us because he was probably going to win that race just because he had the freshest tires. It was definitely a jumble, and I give a lot of credit to Josh Mendoza and Race Control for doing his best as a one-man show to get all that sorted out as best he can. I still felt like I was in a pretty bad spot being third. Even though I had fresher tires, we had put so many laps on them and cycled them so many times that the newness of the tires really didn't mean much anymore. So I knew I was going to have a fight on my hands. And it was a fight. It was a big old fight. And shout out to Joey Paget. I think he's going to win a lot of races in Monday Night Racing. He's really quick. And we had a good, clean battle. Colin was there trying to, be a part of that, and he kept it clean. So that's all you could ask for at the end of these things. When everybody wants to win, nobody does anything dirty to each other. We race it out clean, and it's a classic finish in MNR. I'm really happy I came out on top.
Yeah, that was another thriller for sure. It's a little different from your last race win, right? Where it was like you got the dub and it kind of convincing fashion, and it's like nobody was really watching. right?
right. The championship race at the end of last season at Homestead won that going away, and nobody cared because of the championship stuff that's going on. So thankfully I can wash that finally out of my mouth and move on to a new win. This is probably my favorite win in Monday Night Racing of all time because it was just such an epic battle, such an epic fight between the three of us, and then a classic last lap side-by-side battle coming out of turn 4. I mean, I don't know what more anyone could ask for. That is damn exciting stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, David, just talk about kind of M&R in general. You know, you've been in this league now for a little bit, and arguably the last 2-3 seasons, you've been probably one of the most successful drivers. You know, you have a few wins now. You've been in the Final Four. You don't have that championship yet, but what do you think it'll take this season? Because we were just talking before you came in, me and Mike, about the points and how tight they are. I predict that this is probably going to be the toughest points battle of M&R in any season yet. So what do you think it's going to take this season compared to others?
I agree with you. I've been saying this for weeks. I think this is the most competitive roster that Monday Night Racing has put together yet. And I think that that's going to require everybody that's serious about this championship to step their game up a lot. Like I practiced a full fuel run earlier today, and I never do that for these races, but I think that's the level of dedication it's going to take to really go far in the playoffs and race for a championship and ultimately win it. You're going to have to try hard a little bit because there are a lot of really talented drivers that you're going to have to deal with, and there's guys that haven't won yet that are going to win races and be in the playoffs, and it's really hard to beat them. Like what I had to do tonight, I mean, I'm going to have to drive that hard every week, especially in the playoffs. So, yeah, this is the most competitive season of Monday Night Racing as far as I've seen in my time here, and I think that's great for the league. I think that that's going to set a new standard of competition for everybody to have to raise their game up to, and I think that all of us are going to benefit in the end, but it's going to create some drama. It's going to create some chaos, some friction. We saw tonight some animosity and some bad blood already being spilled in the first 4 weeks. But that's just because everybody wants to win. These are hard races to win. And to your point, the success that I've had, Brandon, is unbelievable. I wanted to win a Monday night race so bad when I first came in. And now that I have, I don't even know how many, a handful, 5, 6 races at this point, feels so good to say. But I know I've beaten a lot of really talented sim racers to do that, and real life racers. And when you beat really good competition, that's the most validating feeling.
Absolutely, it is. Well, you've emerged. We've been hitting on it each week on Front Stretch does an M&R review each week. Check it out. You out there, you readers out there, for some in-depth analysis, and we've kind of labeled it as like the 3 S's of M&R. You got Shieldhouse, you got Sora, you got Smithley. But now Joey Paget, he's got to change his name to start with an S now.
Maybe his middle name is an S.
Hey, maybe it is.
Joey's the real deal, man. I'm telling y'all, don't sleep on Joey Paget. That dude's going to win races, probably going to be this season. Yeah. I would venture to say he will be in the playoffs. He is really consistent, really smart. And I really didn't think I was going to beat him tonight. I was trying to drive him into a mistake, which I was finally able to do there in 3 and 4 on the last lap. But he stayed very composed. He drove a solid race. Do not sleep on Joey Paget. That dude is a great addition. Chase Cabri, another great addition. And I think those are the types of new names and faces to this league that are leaving a big mark. Chase has already won a race. Joey could have won tonight, and I think he will win. So it's not going to be the same old names and faces that you've seen before in Monday Night Racing. Yeah, there's a lot of us that are still around, but this new crop of drivers, really exciting, really talented. So I think anything's up for grabs. You can go all the way down into the 20s, or the 25th place guy on the roster is good enough to win these races, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But we got to get some merchandise with the 3 S's or something like that.
I like it. I support that endeavor. What can I do to help that? You can. This is some merch right here. You can just get this picture
There you go.
You know, like Jordan had his flu game, Schildhouse had his burned hand race, and it worked
They
out.
almost had to amputate.
It was touch and go for a minute. It was touch and go. This is just stupidity. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, do not let your guard down working around hot surfaces. I was on the phone. I was in a rush because I wanted to get up here and get practicing, and I just wasn't paying attention. And that's how accidents happen. So don't be like me. Be better than me, and avoid stuff like this. But at least I can't use this as an excuse as to why I didn't win tonight.
Yeah,
that would have been your excuse if you lost to Joey, but it's okay. You don't have to use it.
I would say be better than him in the kitchen, but not in the sim, because he's the best there was tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Congrats on the win. Don't burn the other hand in the celebration.
No, we got to keep one good. The problem is I'm right-handed, so this will be interesting. I'm not looking forward to peeling this bandage off. Probably tomorrow. It's probably going to be ugly, but I'll take the win. That makes it feel a lot better. I appreciate you, Brandon. Michael, thank you so much for having me on. I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go play some Warzone. Go click some heads and cool down. I think that's a good way to do this. Although my mouse hand, I don't know how that's going to work. It may not. I might have to go on injured reserve for a while.
You'll be fine. If it's anything like this race, you'll be good.
Yeah.
Thanks,
David.
Thanks, David. Thanks.
Thank you.
David Schildhouse, the winner of the night. He's going to be a threat in the stretch for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, David always is. Even in any race he does on here, he's a threat. I believe, if we are ready, I'm not sure if we are yet. Our next guest will be Colin Fern. But we do have another point we wanted to catch on quick, Mike. We were talking about this off camera. The rookies so far this season. We were talking about Joey. We're talking about Chase. Who would you give the edge to?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
He says that Chase Cabre has the W.
Yeah.
But Joey Pageant has been a model of consistency, and it's just he's got to break through and get that first win. So it really is. It's a fantastic battle for Rookie of the Year, and we've seen rookies win championships in MNR, right? But I believe Presley Sora was a rookie, and I think Adam Cabot was a rookie as well.
I believe so, yeah.
Going for a third consecutive rookie champion. And those two guys seem like the guys to do it. I feel like there's probably a rookie we're leaving out that, is going to gripe that they weren't in this comparison. But is it standing out to you, or do you just see those two guys?
Joey Savacci is the other one that he's run all the races so far, I'm pretty sure, this season. I know he hasn't had the best of seasons, but if there's a plate track coming up and he feels like he could be a little bit, more competitive there, then he could steal a win. But honestly, I think Joey and Chase are both going to be the top two rookies when it's all said and done, just like they are now. And heck, if I were to pick a Final Four right now, I would say they'll be in it. The two of them, both. Why not? They both had the speed all season, and they don't seem to be slowing down at all. I know Chase didn't have the greatest race tonight, but he still finished, I think, 13th or something like that. Which, the way it went, yeah, it was. It was a very weird race. I'm gonna say Joey's gonna win a race here in the next week or two. I think. I think if it's not next week, it's gonna be the week after. He's not going more than 2 more weeks without a win.
Another of the rookies, Joey Savacci, was his little incident. I don't know who spun him. I didn't see who spun him. Somebody got him up in the marbles, and that was who I ran to the back of the first time.
Okay.
Crumpled the nose of my beautiful paint scheme, and I just we got to get that thing. Get a look at that.
There it is.
Scheme. Because it was the holiday themed race for Monday Night Racing. You can check out. They posted on Twitter how you can donate to the cause. When you donate, vote for that car. Vote for that car. let's get. And there, if you look there on the side, next to the Christmas trees, you see Brian Nolan, the host of the Front Stretch podcast, as an elf. So,
Well, check it out. Yeah,
there's
check
tons
him
of
out,
little
by the way.
details on this car. It was inspired by the Brad Keselowski Miller Lite scheme from a couple years ago that he ran at Phoenix. So, yeah, that was a beautiful one there. A lot of great schemes. I'm curious to see who gets the win. But just a really cool thing that they're putting together tonight. Yeah,
They raised like what do you say, 3,000 or something like that?
so I think they're putting up 3,000 and they're trying to raise 5,000 from donations.
Okay.
I believe is the numbers. Don't quote me on that. Another guy who had a pretty cool scheme was Colin Fern. Do we have his camera ready to go yet? Is he ready to go yet? I don't think so. Yeah. So what's next? What's next? I believe next week is the Indy 500.
Is that next week? Yeah, I was looking on the schedule. I think that's next week. Can we get the schedule up?
We get the schedule up, Brian. Let's take a look at this thing. Thank you.
There we go. It is the Indy 500. Okay, so it is.
Yeah, Indy 500.
Listen, man, that's a race that I don't know how long it's going to be. If you guys run the 50% distance, 100 laps, I mean, that's going to be interesting.
But it's kind of become a staple of MNR.
Yeah.
I think we've done one every single season. And maybe there was a couple we missed, but I know it really, in the early days of the league, we had Indy 500. Yours truly got top 10 in, I think, the first one. But the league's got league has gotten a lot tougher from then. But yeah, it was cool back then because we had Bob Jenkins. Had Bob Jenkins on the call. We had Mario Andretti in one of those Indy races that we did. So, that's just a couple legends. Bob Jenkins,
no big deal, right? Racing with them.
I know it was intimidating. I did not want to be the guy that wrecked Mario Andretti. But yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, right. I wish it's too bad Bob Jenkins isn't still around, but he was truly a legend. But yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna look ahead to favorites already, how do you go against anybody that's won this season or anybody that's been up front, like a Joey, like a David, like a Chase, Presley, anybody like that? I mean, it's another, I won't say basic track and car combo, but it's one that a lot of people are familiar with, just like what we saw tonight. So I think, again, that's going to play into, a lot of guys' advantage. So, it won't be any different, I think. I don't think we'll see any different players than we saw tonight, is pretty much, I think, what we're going to see. So, I think we got word that we got Colin Fern.
Yes, sir. How's it
there
going?
There he is. Okay, Colin, we finally got you.
Yes, sir.
What's up, my man? 30th place, and you finished third.
That's
as
exactly
you said.
right. That was exactly right. That was a pretty crazy race from our standpoint. It was just, we got wrecked in that first wreck, and just tried a different strategy. Never really panned out. Got caught a lap down in one of those cautions. I think when Bickford just drove through Reed. Got trapped a lap down, ended up getting a lucky dog, and stayed out the rest of the race, and they all lost their minds. So we ended up third. I don't really know how else to say it.
Yeah, that's come to be the norm. It's like we get these long runs, and then all of a sudden it's just everything just.
It's the egos, man. I mean, everybody in this league walks in and they think that their dick's been there for 10 minutes, and they all have to be the top dog, and they're nobodies. So I don't understand why we can't just have good racing. I mean, me, Joey, David, like none of us, I think, have caused a single incident all year, and us three get up in the top three, and there's a little contact, and nobody's really
being super, super aggressive. And I feel like those two especially put on a really good show there at the end, a clean show. It's just same idiots causing problems every week.
So I think this is a good question then. Now we asked David this, what his viewpoint was, but because he was kind of in the middle of it. What was your viewpoint of that restart with Carson, David, Joey, and whoever else was involved?
So you understand, right? We get to the restart box and everyone kind of accordions because whether you're second row or eighth row, you're trying to roll up and gain momentum as you roll into the start. So we all did that, and I don't even know who was fifth, DJ or somebody, hit me a little bit, and I think it jolted my car into David's, and none of us went. Like, we were all just rolling up to it, and I think Carson saw that and just full throttled. And listen, dude, I like Carson as a person, and honestly, in real life race cars, like, he's caused some issues, but he's fast and he holds himself to a high standard, and he's just one of those guys that gets on the video game and thinks he's way bigger than he is. So I'm hoping that Ford and those guys will take care of him. And by take care of him, I mean boot him from the league. He has no need to be in there. This is incident upteenth. I mean, last week he was a lap down racing the leaders, and this week he gets an EOL and just stops and wrecks Brett Baldock under caution because he's throwing a hissy fit over a video game. I probably shouldn't say it. I throw hissy fits over the video game all the time.
We know. I'm not going to comment on that.
I don't know. I like Carson as a person. He's just got to mature enough if he wants to be a part of this league, because this league has gotten better and it's gotten a little more strict in a good way. But yeah, he jumped the start and he deserved the penalty.
Yeah, for sure. So would you say he's on that list that I've heard so much about, or?
Yeah, Colin, why don't you? Yeah.
All right. So let's start this list, right? So I feel like the list goes back to like Eldora of season 4.
Oh boy.
It started with like James Bickford, and James Bickford is here, and he's kind of maintained a relative top 3 spot on my shit list. Can I say shit? Shit.
Consistency.
So
season's championships, right?
Yeah, no, he's consistent. He's consistently been in that top 3. And I've said some things about his girlfriend. His girlfriend's pretty cute, and like I said, things I probably shouldn't say. But,
oh man.
And then SVG happened in the championship race. Everybody remembers that. But he's not really around anymore, so he's kind of tapered off. And then this year, like, one of the nicest guys in the league, Presley Sora, just wrecked me at Talladega. Just completely stopped in the middle of pit road under pit stops because he missed his box. So instead of just turning left where you can ghost through all the cars, just stopped on pit road and proceeded to follow that up the following week with completely just driving through me on the last lap at Motegi. So I've been looking for Presley, and we really haven't found each other on track at all. And then at the Miatas at Daytona, Raja just intentionally wrecked me. He can say he didn't all he wants, but he intentionally wrecked me because I took a swing at him off the corner because he dive bombed from 8 car lengths back. So I effed around and I found out, and eventually I'm sure he'll find out. And then tonight, I completely forgot about tonight. I'm on a different strategy. I'm probably on 15, 20 lap older tires. I'm letting all the guys on tires by, even though nobody let me by when I was on tires. I'm letting them all by. They're just going around the outside, like an Eminem song, around the outside. And Chase Cabri, however the hell you say his name, just drove through me. And I saved it because I'm a freaking wheelman. I think he's mad at me because I wrecked him in the practice race yesterday. Which really he wrecked himself, but neither here nor there. I'll take responsibility. But he just drove through me. So yeah, he didn't. He jumped Presley, stayed below Raj, and Bickford just stays at the top because he does stupid shit all the time, like wrecking Reed today. So I'd go James, Raja, Chase, Presley, SVG. I feel like that's a pretty solid top 5. It's like MySpace. Like, you got them friends, top rivals, top dipshits of MNR. Boom, 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 boom.
It's like NASCAR Heat.
I just don't get how you remember all this stuff. How you keep track of all these grudges.
Well, we don't race that much, right? So it's like, what do we run? 14 races in a season. So we don't race that much. And, you know, if you notice, with the exception of basically Presley, everybody else I named is involved in shit week in and week out. Every single week, they're involved. So kind of a common denominator. I mean, I just used tonight. I used my 5th fast repair in 3 seasons. I don't really get involved. I run my mouth a lot, but I don't cause incidents. And everybody I just named, with the exception of Presley, usually causes incidents. So Presley's kind of there by default, just because he single-handedly has cost me 15 spots in the first 2 races of the season. But I don't know, we're 6th in points or something like that, so I can't really be too upset about it.
So you haven't had a chance to dive bomb him at all yet.
I haven't had a chance to dive bomb him. That is 100% true. But I tell you, man, that was a pretty cool race. The Monday Night Racing dipshits came to play halfway through the race like they normally do, and some of these guys, man, it's bad. I don't know. There's no fixing it.
Well, we can put tonight behind us then.
I mean, it's my best finish of the year, I think. I
3rd, yeah.
3rd, hell yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You said you're in 30th, as we said, and you finished 3rd.
Yeah. And John, my buddy John, and Timmy Peccioli, T-Petch Designs, we hung out in Discord, and we had a social hour, we'll call it, from about lap 15 to whenever the shit show commenced. And so we had a good talk, and talked about what's going on in their personal lives and my personal lives. I went on a date yesterday, so we talked about
that's great.
That. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I thought you were going to say in the middle of the race.
No, not in
Somebody
the middle
else
of the
took
race.
over.
No, that's not allowed in the league. I have had to miss an MNR race before for other obligatory reasons, but that wasn't tonight, no.
Good.
Yeah, if you remember last season, he got off our show because he was going on a date.
I did do that. Skittles, I think, was the word.
Skittles, yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
That was the one.
That's right. That was the code word that we had to get off.
Might
But
be Skittles time again, huh?
That's right.
Skittles time.
Yeah.
No Skittles tonight. No Skittles tonight.
No Skittles? Okay. All right.
No, it'll be let's see. Right Twix bar.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Left Twix, right Twix. We're going with the right Twix.
Okay.
That's bad.
Well, yeah. Thanks so much for joining us, Colin.
Yeah, thanks,
congrats
Colin.
on the good run and the epic comeback tonight. Yeah, we look forward to seeing how you carry out your list as we going forward. You'd be like Santa Claus.
Where do we race next week? Is it
Indy 500?
Indy
500.
You can't do nothing there.
Nah, you just wreck yourself trying
And
to.
I think I don't know the whole schedule, but I think after Indy is the next gens at Most Sport, and
It is.
I'll win that race. That's a lock.
Or you could win next week and just
no, the Indy cars and me do not get along. But the next gens at road
All
courses,
the honesty.
I will win that race. You guys can lock it in.
All right. If you got money, if there was money on this league, lock it in.
I don't think you can bet on yourself. Pete Rose told me something about that one time.
All right. Well, if anybody out there is watching, bet on Colin then if you can. He's guaranteeing a win.
I'm guaranteeing a win in the next gens at Most Sport. Yes.
All righty. Lock it in.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Colin. See ya. I don't know what this league would do without him. I really don't.
Whenever he comes on, you just gotta sit back and let it happen. Like you're just gonna lose all control of the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody knows that. If anybody watched last season's episode with Colin, I mean, we kind of dove into what his life is like in motorsports. Tonight was kind of just him BSing and whatever. But I mean, he's a character. But yeah. So Indy 500 next week. What are we looking for, Mike, for yourself?
So the way the Indy cars used to be, I could run pretty good at them. They did an update last year, probably last year, where they were much tighter and the draft wasn't as effective. So I wasn't as good at them last time. I'm curious to see. I don't run Indy cars that much, so I don't really know if there's been any updates that change the way they handle or anything like that. So curious to see what it's like, but it's a survivalist race, I think, and I've had success in the past, just hanging with the pack and getting decent finishes at Indy. So I think it's one of those ones. If I can make it in the show, I got a good shot at a good finish. Unlike tonight where I made it in the show and got wrecked out for a bad finish. So, but yeah, it should be a fun one. Indy 500, I mean, greatest race in the world, right? One of the greatest races in the world. So
Yeah, I mean,
in the sim form. So
the good news is I think it'll be a lot cleaner than what tonight was and how it ended. I mean, I know the Indy car isn't easy to drive, but I don't think we'll be seeing what we saw tonight. Let's just say that.
No.
So if you're out there and you're watching and you're expecting carnage next week, I don't think you'll get that. I think you'll get a good race. So we'll be back here next week on that note. Next Monday, December 5th, Podium will go on air, I believe, at 7:45 Eastern Time. Tune in, Indy Cars at Indy for the Monday Night Racing Pro Series League. I am Brandon Hoff. That is Michael Massey. We will see you guys next week.